Well, welcome. Who do we
How's it
have
going?
here? We have Mr. Fire Creek Forge himself. How's it
How you
going,
doing?
man? Man, I'm doing great. You ready for
Good.
New Year's Day?
Yeah, let's kiss 2024 goodbye.
I'll tell you, man.
It's
I
been a
was
year.
me and my buddy Radio Made Easy was talk. We've been talking the last couple of days, but I'll tell you what, 2024 has been hard.
It's
It's
been a
been a
year.
hard year. Been a lot going on. I'll tell you. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the. I'm looking forward to 2025. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah, me
So,
too. Yeah, it should be good.
any cool stuff coming up with Fire Creek Forge
I'm always thinking
2025?
of stuff to do that I don't have time to do that I just do anyway and put something else on the back burner. But the coolest thing is just, one of the coolest things is working with y'all there. So pretty excited about that.
That's well, I'm
Yeah.
excited about it too. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, it's been awesome to see like how like well received. I think your stuff has taken off quicker than any new brand coming to the store,
That's awesome.
which I'm really excited about. Um, and for good reason too. Um, it's I think the your designs and everything are really it really hits home with a lot of people. You know, it's very classic look, very usable, um, and just the fit and finish on this stuff is just awesome.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah, I really like to draw from kind of traditional designs, whether it's Scandinavian or early
yeah.
American or whatever. So yeah, because I really enjoy making knives for people to use. So I
Well,
mean,
you
there's
definitely
there's some cool stuff out there that you can't really use. So
there is, or you don't want to use. You
or you
know,
don't want to use, yeah,
um, when you kind of find that knife that is, you know, that kind of fits what you're trying to do. I think that's the it's kind of a place for people, you know. And your
yeah,
designs, I'm seeing a lot of I and this it was funny, uh, but I was talking to have you seen Primitive Woodsman stuff, Josh Morgan?
hmm
So I was talking to
yeah,
him the other day, and he was talking about how we were talking about like okay, what is the future? Like, what's the next season of the knife world going to look like?
yeah,
And I told him, I said, man, the old stuff's coming back.
yep.
Like the leather, the wooden handles, I said that's going to be what's coming next. And he said, that's funny you say that. Do you know who Jason Knight is by any chance?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So he said I was talking to Jason, and he said the exact same thing. And so I was like, man, the Jasons have it. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Well,
So
they're tried and tested designs, and I mean even materials. Like
yeah,
um, for example, one of the knives I've built, I've just done one is like the Yakut knife,
oh
uh,
yeah,
up in the freezing cold north. It's that knife that's got that fuller on one side and
mm-hmm.
it's got a convex bevel on the other side, and it's a very distinctive blade. I think it might have been designed that way because they originally used a half of a bone, to build that.
Huh.
And then once steel was introduced, they just made them that way. But they're very effective for the environment that they were created in, and
Yeah,
you see that across different designs. And I mean, whenever as a knife maker, whenever I see somebody come up with this new design that's just this is the best thing ever, it's like, maybe, but probably over the last, several thousand years, somebody probably would have come up with that, because they're using these knives every single day. They're wearing them every single day. Like we enjoy knives and everything like that. And a lot of us use them every day. But I mean, it was a whole nother ball game. Like if you didn't have a good tool, you might die,
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
kind of, I like to look at those, various cultures all over the world where they, they use their tools and their blades and stuff because they had to, and so it's like they're not going to use something that's not working well most of the
Right.
time. So
You're fixing your avocado toast is not the definition of survival.
yeah,
It's just not. And so And, I love all the bushcraft stuff too, like, but it's just a simulated scenario, it's not, we're not trying to come up with stuff that's actually, we're, anymore, we're not trying to come up with something that's actually gonna, like, be life or death to us in most instances,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it depends on how into it you get, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the way I got into making knives in the first place was as a kid, I was really interested in what I called, this is before bushcraft was cool, you know. And primitive wilderness living skills,
Mhm.
you know, when I read like Wildwood Wisdom, Tom Brown's books, Cache Lake Country, various different survival manuals from the old guys and stuff. um, and the knife was the central tool in all of it, and
Yep.
then also harkening back to the Native Americans, they had the skills where they could, grab a good blade, and
Yep.
they had the know-how and the skills to walk into the wilderness basically and live. And that just fascinated me. So I really enjoyed using knives in that, learning those skills in that context. And and then one day I found a book at the library on how to make knives. And prior to that, it never occurred to me that you can make your own knife,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how I got started. But it all kind of stemmed from those skills where if you put I mean, you have to obviously you have to intentionally put yourself in the situation where you where you most of us don't do that. But it is sort of a proving ground, I guess, in some way
Sure.
for what works and what doesn't,
Sure.
if you want it to be,
Yeah.
But
Well, people like my age, were I was never in, like, Boy Scouts or anything like that, but
yeah, me neither.
there's a large group of, I think, millennials that are growing up right now that are kind of they're having kids late, but they're revisiting those childhood times where, and I think that's one reason we're starting to see a lot of this stuff come back around is, they're going back in their mind, and they're going back and, maybe taking their own kids out camping and doing
Hmm.
stuff now. And I think that's one of the cool things. I love seeing kids camp and seeing kids
Yeah.
out in the woods. Like, that's just kind of a lost thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's even bigger than that, just the way our society is going. Like we've got AI now and stuff, which frankly I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I'm not
But
either.
I don't, maybe I should be, but I'm not, because most I don't a lot of people don't understand like what it actually takes to make stuff. I think Elon Musk actually said it, like you have to make stuff, for the economy to work. Like and it takes people to do that. Um, but I think a lot of people, our age and stuff are looking at where the society's going,
Mhm.
and it's just more automated, more computers, more government control, more, told what to do. And if you can grab a couple of good tools and go out in the woods, it's like, okay, that's some freedom, and like, how did people live 200 years ago?
Mhm.
How did we end up where we're at here today? Well, it's because our great grandparents, survived the howling wilderness.
Yep.
What did they use to do that? So it's, I think at least for me, it's like I look at some of the stuff that, and maybe every generation experiences this. I don't know, but it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Look back over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Yeah. I think back of, like, if my grandfather was still alive today, like, he died probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, even the last 10 years alone. I mean,
Yeah.
he was saying back then, like, you know, this is not, he just did not attach to modern day society at all. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of interesting. Like, I always think about him and, like, how he would react to, like, today. It's, like, actually quite terrifying.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. We're getting off on a rabbit trail now, but
Yeah.
who cares, right? Um, things have gotten. I mean, yeah, financially things have not been super easy lately, but like the modern conveniences that we have, um, if we ever did experience any kind of real uh, scenario, And I know every 10 years the world's going to end. I remember
Sure.
Y2K was going to end, and I was actually bummed. I was a
Yeah.
teenager. I was like, man,
I was
this
so
is going to be
excited.
great. This is going to be awesome.
I still had to eat Pintos for 3 years. Why couldn't we have done
Right?
it in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cool?
We ended up we ended up. It sounds like we might have had a similar experience, but
Oh yeah.
um, anyway, but it's like there's always something. But like if it ever did happen, some of what the doomsdayers say would come true, like because a lot of people don't know how to do basic things, and
No.
um, I think bringing it all back around full circle here. I think having a good blade at your side and knowing how to use it is sort of in some ways like a fundamental cure to that. You
Sure.
know, And so pity the poor soul that lives in the inner city where you're not allowed to carry knives or whatever. That's why you don't live there.
That's why you don't.
But
So
anyway,
true. So true. So what got you actually going? Like, cause you're what, 40, maybe 30,
almost
38,
next
40?
year. This,
Okay.
yeah, and yeah,
I thought you were
yep.
right around that age. How did you get started in this whole adventure?
Well, like I said, I started making knives. Excuse me, about 25 years ago. I made my first knife, and or somewhere in there. Did it as a hobby for a long time, off and on. Pursued various different work and sort of semi-career stuff. I never conceived the idea of actually doing it as a living or for work until I got married, and my wife, who has been very supportive, she noticed. So at the time, I was in law enforcement, and I'd come home from a week of shifts on the pushing a black and white, and just kind of decompress. We lived out on 20 acres. We rented nice little property. Wish hindsight, wish we could have bought it, kind of a thing. But anyway, I come home and grub around in the tree, in the woods back behind the house and whatever. I started making some knives again, and so after a little bit of this, she's like, "Oh, you should try selling some." So we actually started on Etsy and ended up selling a few knives. And I look back at those knives and I'm like, man, those are, ugh. um, but they also didn't sell for what I sell them for now. So
Sure.
people were happy with what they got. I mean, that wasn't the issue, but it's like, man, anyway, so I started selling knives and, ended up, leaving law enforcement. And, over the next couple of years, I mostly worked for a home builder. Had some experience in that, and so did that and built knives on the side and kind of built it up. And then about 7.5 years ago, went full time. Been full time since then.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, so bought a couple houses since then on it, and it's been tight here and there, but
Yeah.
it's going in a good direction. So
That's an accomplishment, man. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to, and they're trying their darndest. It's so. I talk to a lot of young people trying to start their own business or trying to
yeah,
do their own thing, and they don't understand how hard it is. It really is the hardest thing. It's way easier to work for somebody
oh,
else,
it is.
but I could never do it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I have people reach out to me from time to time asking me like, "Yeah, man, not happy with what I'm doing. I really like to do this or that." And
Yep.
so I like to offer some advice, when asked for it. But yeah, it's hard. And again, like I think it really takes the support of your spouse if you're married. Actually, what I get off on a rabbit trail here, but if a young guy finds a particular trade or skill or something that he's interested in, even if it's not making money, like before you're married and got responsibilities, man, just take the opportunity to pursue that. And a few years build it into something that's going to pay the bills. But I didn't do that because I didn't really have the guidance or
Yeah.
mentorship or whatever. But so
Yeah, I didn't do it till after I got married for sure, but I'm thankful I had a really good spouse.
yeah.
She's went through hell. She's
Yeah,
went
my
through
my
what
wife
most
is
modern
my wife
women
has
would
put up
not
with a
put up
lot
with.
too.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
hard. I mean,
it,
but
it
she was
is
working
hard.
just as hard as me, right alongside of me. I
Hmm.
mean, just some most probably harder.
Yep.
And so it's been it's it's awesome to be married to a good woman.
Yeah, that's really kind of a make or break deal. I mean, it's not that you can't do it any other way, but like you're gonna have to figure out, and now since we're on the topic, other things that help are like being as debt free as possible,
Yep.
and um, anyway, but yeah, like I say, I have people reach out to me from time to time asking me about that, and
It's good
happy to help
stuff.
if I can. So
Well, why don't we look at some knives? I know that's what all these people want to
yeah,
see.
let's talk about some knives. Yeah, we can talk
Well,
about everything else. I don't
I
care, but
was oh, I will too. We can keep it up for all I care. That's
I
what it's
enjoy
about.
discussing things.
I do too. I do too. Well, I just got this sucker in the mail, and well, I blocked my camera switcher. That was great.
Oops.
I am super uber love this thing, man.
Nice.
I love it. And I think I kind of got a. Did I kind of get to watch you build this one on shorts, or was this you're
Um,
doing a wrought iron stuff right
yeah, I
now?
did a wrought iron stand my,
Yeah,
which I have right here behind me actually, but it's a
yeah,
similar process. Yeah. Basically, you've got your high carbon steel sandwich between a more ductile and in this case corrosion resistant steel.
yeah,
And so what you've got there is a mostly corrosion resistant blade, but with the high carbon edge on it.
yeah,
So you've got the ease of sharpening, the keenness of edge, and all the good qualities of carbon steel that we love, but you've got the stainless steel that most of it's corrosion resistant. And then of course it also adds to the toughness of the blade because that stainless steel is going to remain softer than the edge steel.
for sure.
So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful knife. Is this just one you whipped up, or is this a kind
It
of a
is.
production thing?
It is a one-off. However, I like the design enough that I actually scratched out a pattern, and so
Good,
I've got the pattern here in the shop, and
because
so I can
and
recreate that.
I'm loving the sheath you sent with this one. It is like I don't know what leather you're using, but it is like so. It's really like full grain leather, but it's so pliable. It's just like
Yeah,
super nice.
yeah, that's a full grain veg tan. I only use veg tan. I mean, it's veg tan's actually a little bit stiffer than like chrome tan usually, but then I oil it up with harness oil,
Mm,
and not every hide is exactly the same.
sure.
Because I've actually sent sheath off to a guy, and he's like, the first thing I did is oil it up. Like, I had a
Yeah.
lot of oil in it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it's good stuff, quality leather, so it'll
Well,
it'll last a long time.
I have to say, this one actually, sold right before the stream started.
Oh, nice,
Right before it
right on.
started, it was
That's
gone,
that's
but
good.
I had to bring it out anyway. Um, I think Mr. Evan Roach might have bought this one. He sniped it. He's in my mod group, and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And he was like, I was like, you just stole the lightning. It is fantastic. It's just fantastic. That's
Good.
I love that. I love he got a steal on that knife. That knife should not be priced like that at all,
Well,
in my opinion.
it might not. Well, I guess what they say is like you get in what you can at the lower prices, right? I
So
don't
I'm
know.
telling
We'll
you,
see what happens.
that's a. I was like, dude, you stole that thing. And this guy is Blunk. Yeah, Evan. Yeah, you Blunk. That's what we say around here when somebody buys something. It's like
Yep.
it's the sound of the computer.
Notification sound.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
but this I think this guy is one of my favorite designs
Yeah.
because I'm a big Nesmith guy, but this is I love it.
Yeah. That I've been making that design for probably 6 years,
Oh yeah,
and yeah, and it's been a perennial for sure.
yeah,
It's
it's
just so
awesome.
versatile. Like it's the perfect size for deer. In fact, I mean, I would use that on elk, anything really. You don't really want a big knife for even
No,
for large game. But you can. I mean, it EDCs real nicely. Um, it's just a good little blade for all
and
sorts of things.
and that chili pepper is one of my favorite colors. I think that is.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I had some knife maker buddies over at the shop the other day for a little party, and I broke out some of your knives, um, broke out some of the knives, like because it was like show and tell time,
Right.
and they were like, "Man, I don't know how he." He said, I think I know how he gets those so nice and rounded, like the spine with the." They said, "But that's really hard to do. It's not an easy thing to do, but
Yeah.
it's so comfortable."
Yeah. um, it took me quite a while to get to where those handles, the way they fit in your hand, and
Yeah.
I've actually got you're gonna probably end up with some here on the next order, but I've got another handle design that um is similar to that, but it's got more of a kick down. But people look at these handles and then they pick them up and like, man, I didn't know it was going to feel that good, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing where you have to hold it to really understand.
Yep.
But it, it's got to fit your hand. Like you can have the best steel in the world, you can have a great edge, perfect grind, but if the handle sucks, like
Yeah.
what good does it do you? You know, because that's your interface with the blade. So
But
it's got to be a whole package.
what to me is so cool, get it here, is there's a continual arch all the way across the top, even the steel.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like that is not something a ton of people are doing, especially on a knife in this price. I mean, that's really, really cool. It feels so good.
Yeah,
The
it's got
top and the
it's.
bottom, it's just
Mhm. It's pretty
so
much an oval cross section almost.
yeah,
I mean, it kind of varies throughout the length of the blade depending on because
yeah.
your grip is not the same size and shape, you know, all the way across your hand. So
I love it. I love it. It's just like how are you doing that? Like a slack belt? Like just on the
yeah,
belt? Like that's
yeah. I mean,
so cool.
I start by roughing it out on a flat platen or a round wheel, and then I'll slack belt for finishing it out. Yeah.
It's just I love that knife. As soon as it came, I was like, man, that's slick. And I love the big oversized lanyard hole
Hmm.
on there. It's just super cool. Let's see what questions we got. The chat going wild over here. Let's see if they're just chatting or what's
Yeah, we need some questions, steel questions, knife
yeah.
questions.
Come on, camera. Why are you doing this to me? My
Stupid
camera
technology.
stupid. Let's see. My
Check for drone.
handy Mike wants to know if you're coming to Blade Show in Atlanta.
I am going to be at Blade Show Texas. I probably won't make it to Blade Show Atlanta. That's probably not going to happen, but I will be at Blade Show Texas in March, and then probably back to Blade Show West next. I think it's in October again, but I don't know. I probably won't make it to Atlanta.
I go for like a day now. I'm gonna go for like a day. I'm so burnt out on that. It's just too much. I don't do well with that many people, and I get
Yeah,
sick of the Chinese made junk.
I I'm fairly happy not being around crowds myself. So most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Now you live in Texas now, right?
Yeah,
What?
we're way over on the west.
Oh,
We're right next to New Mexico. So
so, let's see. Benjamin, he's asking a question here. My stupid camera, if it'll focus there. So you were saying you were planning on coming out with a production model of that one-off semi.
well, production's a strong word around here because it's literally just me right now. So, everything, and this is, and I mean, to answer your question in a roundabout way, my vision, and this is something that kind of solidified in this year, is for the Fire Creek Forge brand, it's all going to be handmade for like forever. There's different ways of hand making a knife, but that's going to limit things a little bit. And at some point, if I am able to bring people on and train them the way that I think a knife ought to be built, that's going to open the doors up. But to answer your question in a roundabout way, I will probably be making some more of those little sandmine blades, and I'm sure I'll be making some more of those same blade designs, not in sandmine. Maybe probably some Damascus even, but you're just gonna have to be patient because we're not ever gonna move into just full on production. Um, so it's still gonna be something you have to pay attention to, and just fruit of the spirit, patience.
Patience. Something Americans don't have now. We
Yeah,
got
but
another one
but
from
that's the thing is, like, if you can just go down to Walmart and get it, like, who wants that, right?
who wants
So
it? So Evan's saying, how many deer can you skin and break down with a 52-100 knife?
we're broaching the 52-100 question.
I knew it was coming.
Yep. So that's a good question, and I'm gonna answer that question for any steel first, and then we'll talk about 52-100 a little bit. Probably the biggest thing that determines that answer for any knife for any steel is who's using the knife. Because if you got guys that are experienced in breaking down an animal and they're being careful and they know what they're doing, they're not going to be hacking against the bone and hitting the bone every other cut and everything like that. And they can even take joints apart and stuff, just hitting the cartilage and stuff like that. Any knife, if you start getting on the bone and stuff like that, it's gonna lose its edge faster. So I've had guys. So to answer your question a little bit more specifically, I've had guys take field dress a couple of elk fully and touch the blade up with a little ceramic deal when they get home, that kind of thing. So if you're careful, it can go a long, long way. If you're not careful, no steel is really gonna save you. And that's true with no matter what you're doing, because edge retention, all other things aside, if you're cutting things that are really hard on the edge, you're gonna lose your edge sooner. But yeah, several animals if you're paying attention.
Yeah, and
100.
I think this right here is probably the number one thing to keeping your knife sharp.
Yes.
This right here, $38 or whatever they cost, that's the number one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about edge retention, that opens a whole Pandora's box because there's so many different factors. And I don't know how much time we have, but I'll sit here and talk about it all night.
We've got all night.
Okay. Till next year, right?
Till next year.
And yeah, I mean, I love to talk about it. So, for example, on my knives are all going to tend towards the thinner side of grind and thinner side of edge. And compared to, most production knives. And the thing you got to remember with production knives is they have to cater to sort of the status quo. And a lot of guys are going to go out and beat the crap out of their knives, and they don't want a bunch of broken blades. They're going to get some, right? But they don't want a bunch of broken blades and stuff like that. And so they're going to tend towards a thicker edge and a softer heat treat. No matter what particular steel they're using, that's going to be the trend with a production knife, or even semi-production knives for that matter, actually, now that I remember some stuff I just even was recently reading about one company. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're spending several $100s for a knife, I feel like my client base and your client base, a lot of these guys on here, they're a little more conscientious. They're a little more purposeful and thinking about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they want a blade that's going to work really well, and they're going to put it to use for a very specific or a range of purposes. But it's like, this is for cutting. I'm going to use this knife for this, and I'm actually going to use my axe for this over here instead of whatever. And I'm not going to use it as a screwdriver or whatever. So that shaking your head. So for that reason, and I've I think I've warranted 2 knives total in the last 7 years, and
that's incredible.
One wasn't even I did because it's what I do, but I want to stand behind my product, but I probably shouldn't have. I don't think it was deserved. But anyway, no big deal. Point is these knives are for cutting, and you guys are going to use them for cutting and not the goofy stuff. And that being the case, we can really refine that grind, that edge, and that heat treat. And so it cuts a lot longer, it cuts a lot better, and you get this knife that actually works like a dream instead of sort of okay. And I feel like you can get that when you're spending several $100s or more on a knife. So that's the direction that I go on the knives. So
yep.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're buying a chopper, I build those for chopping. That's different. But
That's
Right.
that's a totally different thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say what you're saying is true across the board when it comes to expensive knives. I mean, even there, a lot of people are just not willing to do that, just because. I mean, any basically any knife company. If you look at Benchmade, I mean, a lot of their fixed blades are $300-400,
Yeah.
and it's not. They're not. They're. It's not even the same thing. It's not even the same thing. You're always going to have a thicker blade. You're not going to have as much meat taken out of the blade. It's going to, it's not going to cut as well. It's definitely not going to be as good as Skinner.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. And, for most stuff, that's probably fine. But again, we're talking about more like a knife connoisseur instead of just somebody who wants something
Yeah.
to beat around in the.
Now I'm probably the hardest out of anybody, even my customers. I'm probably the hardest on knives of anybody. I mean, I used one the other day to jumpstart a mower.
Yeah.
I was just welded the back of it.
Nice.
But it's just I don't know. I I like to see where the breaking point is sometimes.
Right. Well, yeah, and you
It,
got to test your wares, and
but
see.
there are knives made to be extremely tough, and then
Yes.
there are knives made to be used. And there's
Right.
two different things.
Yep.
That's two different things.
Right.
It's
Yeah. And so another thing about edge retention specifically is, or really anything when it comes to knife design, is there's always a trade-off.
yeah.
So you can heat treat it. Let's say you've got a good steel, obviously, to start with, but then you can heat treat it for a harder edge and get some better edge retention out of it, but it's not going to be as tough. Or you can heat treat it softer. It's going to be tougher, but it's going to lose its edge sooner. And so, finding that balance, for for the knives that I build, and then, people finding that balance for what they're doing with them. But it's worked really well. Like I said, I've
Yeah.
only warranted a couple knives in the last 7 years. So
And I wasn't 100% sure like what 52-100 was going to be like, but man, as I use mine, I love it. I think it's a fantastic steel.
yeah. Yeah. So if you want to know how I decided on 52-100,
Yeah.
um, the way, so 52-100 steel is what they use in industrial ball bearings and roller bearings and that kind of thing. And it's been around for well over 100 years, and it's been a proven steel, and there's a lot of information on it because of the fact that been used in the industry for so long. But there were some specific things that I looked at when I kind of settled on 52-100 as my main steel. It's not the only steel that I use. There's a couple others that I use, but for most of my knives, that's what I use. And so several things. First of all, availability. There's some great steels out there that are hard to get, and if I can't get the steel, I can't make knives. And so availability, cost. Again, there's some other great steels out there within the carbon steel and within the stainless steel and whatever else that are super expensive, and they might do awesome things and whatever, but they're going to raise the price overall cost of that knife, and which is fine if your clientele is prepared for that and everything like that, but the cost. And then third thing is the workability. And I do a lot of forged blades, kind of like the San Mai one there. That's obviously a
Mhm.
forged welded and forged blade. And I do some stock removal too, like on the Kep Arts and Nesmucks and stuff. And so with the forging specifically, I wanted something that was going to work well with the different ways that I wanted to work with the steel. And then also, last but not least, of course, is just the durability, edge retention capability of the steel. So multiple different factors, and that's what I kind of landed on was 52-100, because it is so prevalent in industry. It's like it's not going away anytime
Right.
soon, and there's plenty of it, and it's in various different dimensions and stock sizes and all this kind of stuff. And so for all those reasons, I landed on 52-100. So about the steel specifically, it's got 1% carbon in it and 1.5% chromium. And as high carbon steels go, that's pretty high for the 1%. It's not as high as they go, but it's on the higher end. And then that little bit of chromium does a bunch of different things. helps keep the grain size small. It helps precipitate some of that extra carbon into carbides, which helps with edge retention. Just a number of different things. Helps with the heat treat process. You don't have to have as fast and brutal of a quench. Like you don't have to quench in water or anything like that. And so that's just, anyway, so there's different things. And I've been really happy with it. I like to tell people sometimes I have knives from Alaska to Australia, and the guys are using them on moose and elk and deer and all, bush crit, whatever.
Kangaroo.
I haven't had a kangaroo yet that I know of. Maybe could be, but
that's the Australia, man. Crazy people down there.
Yeah,
I ship a lot of knives to Australia.
Yeah,
and Germany.
Well, they don't have any guns, so they need a good blade.
That's right. Yeah. That in California, man.
Yep.
Cali guys just embrace the knife.
Yeah, and then the fifth thing I guess I kind of forgot is user friendly type.
Yeah.
With the steel, because there's so many different steels out there, and you can go all sorts of different directions, and there's steels that obviously outperform 52-100. But again, availability, cost, and user friendly, workability, all the things that come back into play. And I wanted a steel that you can dress out a couple of animals, but then when it comes time to sharpen it, because every knife needs sharpened eventually, doesn't matter what kind of steel you have. It's not 30 minutes trying to get the doggone edge back on there. If you have a reasonable level of skill, you can get that edge, or with the strop, which you so aptly pointed out a minute ago. It's not this brutal 30-minute saga to get your edge back. As you're going, you just hit it with the strop a few times, keep that razor edge on there. So anyway, it's just a user-friendly steel on top of all the other things. So,
well, that's I know you're pretty passionate about it. So,
yeah, I worked. Yeah, I tested a few number of different steels, and I've used quite a few different steels within the high carbon steel family, which is a pretty broad range. And 80 CRV2 is another one that I use. I use it for the bigger choppers and stuff like that. It's a very tough steel. The reason I don't use it for the wider range is because 52-100 with that extra 0.2% carbon in it, it's got a little better potential for edge retention because of the abrasion resistant qualities that extra carbon provides. And 52-100 is also very tough. Very close to 80 CRV2, not quite, but
it must really hold up, because Overton Windex says he uses his mainly for cutting barbed wire. So
really,
there you go.
Well,
there you go. We had a guy in here. He said he wanted to know if you make a bird and trout model.
So the closest thing to that I make now would be the Locksaw river skinner, which is a little.
Yeah, I think I have one.
I don't know if I'd quite call it a bird and trout. I mean, it's probably a little bit on the big side, but now
it's a little bit bigger. But I don't know that I would want one too much smaller for anything. I mean, yeah, I get what he's saying. I mean, if he's very specific about that, but this guy right here is, I know Overton's got one of these as well.
Mm-hmm.
That little guy right there, man. It's a wicked little skinning knife, or everyday carry knife even.
Yep.
I love that thing. Again, the handles on this thing is just perfect. It's really, really nice. What did you say those bolts were called that you use?
They're called Loveless bolts. They were developed by
Bob Loveless?
Bob Loveless.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And all they are is a bolt or a screw, whatever. Excuse me. And a couple of machined square nuts, and you countersink your handle material. So it's literally a bolt with two nuts on each end. You just tighten it down and then grind off the and finish off the outside. So it's the strongest possible mechanical handle fastener possible.
Yeah.
And then of course there's epoxy in there too. So, but really the main thing the epoxy does at that point is seal everything off so you don't get moisture down in between your tang. But
That's
so,
I was watching a video of you actually grinding those off. I
yeah,
thought that was pretty cool.
yeah,
Let's We got 3B's Forge here. He said, "What steel would you recommend for a beginner knife maker?"
yeah. So for a beginner, and I'm assuming you have kind of limited equipment and things like that. And this is the same answer that any other guy will tell you is like 1080, 1075, 1080, 1084. Those are all very, very similar. And the reason for that is because, they forge easily or stock removal, but they're very simple to heat treat. You can actually easily and effectively heat treat them in a forge or even with a torch. They don't require a hold time for the heat treat process, like a lot of steels, like 5200, for example. And so they're just simplest steel to work with. And so, yeah, 1080, 1075, 1080, 1084, any of those would be the best
Yeah.
beginner option. Yeah.
One of my so let's see. Let me make sure that I didn't miss somebody's question. Let's see here. Oh, somebody just bought a hatchet.
Nice.
Well, why don't we talk about those, man?
Yeah.
Super cool axes, man, or hatchets.
Thanks.
I would say this is one of the first. This is one of the first carving hatchets I've had in. But man, the thought and stuff. I probably should go to this camera. That is a mean little guy right there. I love your grinds, man. I know we had talked before, like a lot of. I don't know where this style head originated. Is this a Swedish thing or is this more of an American?
It has Nordic influence. You'll see that in traditional, and I don't know which, maybe Swedish. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. The
But I
cabin
love how
building.
thin you keep it, and
Mm-hmm.
it is with this thing with how thin even the sides of the eye are. You can really do some cool carving with that. But
Mm-hmm.
also splitting some kindling and stuff like that. That is just a cool little axe.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Uh, I mean, in like an axe or a hatchet, you know, you can. Well, if you're familiar with like using wood to heat with, which I've done quite a bit in my life in the past, you're splitting wood. You're using like a splitting maul or a heavy axe. And you want a thicker bevel, a thicker bit, as on the axe.
Mm-hmm.
But for the axe or hatchets that you're chopping wood with, where you're bucking up logs or chopping limbs, you want a bit that cuts, and that's what they're designed for. And so, yeah, you forge it down to a certain thickness, and then put your convex bevel on there. And yeah, speaking of dressing out animals, you could.
You could dress out with this, no problem. Nope, nope.
Lost you
You
there.
back?
Lost you.
I'm back. Are you back?
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
back.
You could dress out an
um,
animal with this, no problem.
that's what I was just gonna say. And then, like I got this little. This is my hand axe, which
Look at
is.
that.
These are a lot of fun. I know you don't have any of these yet, but I just have to
No,
show it to you. These are stinking fun, man.
I love that. That's really cool.
It's the same size of head as my trail hatchet, but with just a hand axe.
I need
And
one of those for beside my wood stove.
yeah,
Like that's awesome.
there.
I love that.
But again, like you say,
Look at that.
the secret is in
Yeah.
how the bit's designed. But then again, you've got the eye here. So when you do go to split your kindling, that'll pop it apart for you, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. But you can actually cut stuff with the bit like it's meant to, like a proper
Yeah.
axe. So
A lot of axes I see from a lot of makers, it's just way too thick when you get up in this area. It's just too thick, and you can't
yep,
get, especially on like the wood we have around here. Like if you're splitting some oak or
yep,
something like it just won't sink in far enough to do anything. It's like splitting with a hand maul,
yeah, yeah,
and It's just not. I like, I've got some Grand Force Brooks and stuff
Mm-hmm.
and I've always liked this style, like this very nice thin, a really thin bit. It takes way less energy to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you try to go, limb a sapling or a tree or something with a splitting hatchet or a splitting axe, you're just going to be like bludgeoning it
Yeah,
off of there basically. And that shouldn't be the case. It should cut like a big knife basically,
yeah.
you know.
And this guy I got here from you, this what did you call it? The bushcraft hat.
Bushcraft.
Yeah,
That is a one of ever one off.
really.
Yeah.
I
But it
love this thing.
might be something I have to make again. So
I think if this thing doesn't sell tonight, I'm going to keep it. I really, really like this a lot, and so this might be mine because I've been playing with it all day. So
yeah, that is a fun little
I like it. It's a
little
really light head on it too. It's nice
Yeah,
and
it's
light.
reminiscent of, like you mentioned, the Gransfors. They tend to have a comparative to
Yep.
their size. They tend toward a lighter head, but again, with the proper and mine are a little heavier. I like a little bit more weight there. You get a little more
Yeah.
work out of it. I feel like, but again, if the bit is properly forged and ground, you're not trying to bludgeon a piece of steel through something. You're surgically
Yeah,
removing
it's like a
limbs from whatever.
it's like a tree scalpel.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
wicked right there. That where do you draw a lot of? You said you get a lot of your inspiration from the Nordic and the Swedish, and I guess a little bit of the American designs too.
Yeah. It's funny because like you look at a bunch of different things over the years, and I'm sure that I've never claimed to design anything brand new. And everything that I've made, I'm sure has been influenced by various different pieces that I've seen over the years and subconsciously pull in different, design aspects to build what I'm building, but it all comes back to functionality, and it's got to work, it's got to work well. Otherwise, why are you buying it, right? What's the point? So
That and the little what do you call them? The little face shields.
the bit covers.
The bit covers. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not good with words. I was homeschooled.
Ass home taught.
Yeah. But guys, I don't know if you're seeing this, but that's like hair popping sharp, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I strap my axes before I send them out too.
Golly dang, man, that's so dang sharp.
Hey, I gotta. Do you? I don't know if I have it over here. Yeah, I do. Let me grab it real fast.
So, we actually carry. If you guys that are buying axes, I actually carry a strop. It's called the slap strop for axes that HCO makes. It's pretty cool.
So I got to show you what. Hopefully this doesn't raise a hue and cry, but I got to show you what I use for my strop. This is the strop that I use, and I'm still sharpening everything.
There you go.
Like every knife in axe goes on this strop before it gets boxed up. But this is what I use, and I've tried the green
up here. Not like a Al Qaeda thing, but like there we go.
This is what I use. Is it backwards for you?
It is backwards.
Okay. Yep. It's a Mother's brand mag and aluminum polish.
Mother's brand.
Yeah. It kind of
show us.
There you go.
Show us what you do with it.
Well, you can use your finger or whatever. Just spread it on.
Oh, you put it on your strop.
Yes. This is what I use for strop compound.
Really?
Yep. It's very fine. It polishes an edge. I've tried the green stuff and I don't like it. That's just me though. Anyway, that's what I use. Polishes it right up. Very, very sharp.
Really?
So Anyway, you just put it on. It'll it's like a paste. It'll dry. It's like a cream, I guess. It'll dry. You have a little bit of excess on there, but
Yeah.
you run the blade back and forth over it a few times, and it'll kind of some of it will come off a little bit, and you can use it
Huh.
for a good
So
good while.
so we're getting some new strops made from Alan, but he does use that green 3M stuff, which I've always
Mhm.
found it works fine for me. But
Yeah,
I might get him to try that and see if we could do a strop partnered with that. That would be
I
kind of cool.
there's
You said it
other
works really good.
stuff out there, but this is just what I kind of stumbled on, and
No, it's
like I
cool.
said, I've tried the green stick.
Yeah.
Rub it on the strop.
Hmm.
I like this,
That's awesome.
so that's what I
That's
use.
awesome. So you use that on your axes and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, those things are sharp, man. That's
Yeah.
really sharp. That's probably the sharpest thing in the store. Are those freaking axes? That's really sharp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're using 1060 for that for those.
Yeah. 1060. It's a medium carbon steel, of course. Most
Yeah.
axes are going to be between 1040, 1045, 1055. I use the 1060 for a couple of reasons. One, because it's available where I'm at. Secondly, because you got just a little bit extra carbon in there, which I think helps with the edge retention just a little bit. And it still heat treats real nice. Still real tough steel. Works real well. I haven't had any complaints or issues with it.
Well, guys, I'm gonna have to get some more axes. So they're all gone.
They're all
No,
gone. You sold them
they're
all?
They're all
Nice.
gone.
I do
So,
have a couple. I do have some. I think I have 4 carving hatchets on my website right now, but I got to make some more of the rest, because I've got the hand axe, the trail axe, and I've got some smaller carving.
do you have any more of these guys?
I do. Do you need some?
You can send me some more of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this. Dude, I love them. I love that thin, sharp grind. That is, you guys are gonna be happy with this. And that thing, I bet it was who bought my axes. That's all I had to say is, of course, it was Luke. Good God, of course it was.
The pull on, especially on the carving axes, where you choke up to it, because so the point is that you can use it on the carving axe anywhere along that handle, and depending on what you're doing with it, you'll shift your grip, but you can get right up on there. You can pretty much feather stick with that thing if you wanted to, but these guys, the trail hatchets, I had several guys ask me if I could start rounding the pulls on these, because they like to just knock this, a hide off of an elk or whatever. So that's why these are that way now too. So
I had never heard of that before until one of Primitive Woodsman's hatchets that he makes. It's one of those full tang. So the guy that designed that teaches a bushcraft school here in North Carolina, and he skins all his deer with it. And I'd never heard of skinning with an axe until that. But he had a whole thing on it about how that was how everybody did it. And it was more the blunt rounded end on the other side. You just beat the hide off.
Yeah.
And it's way less. You're not damaging your meat. You're not. It does a perfect. And I have skinned thousands of animals in my life, and I had never thought about that. That's really genius.
I've never done that either. It probably only works with an animal that's got enough mass to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably want to work on a bunny rabbit.
Yeah, but I'm saying like deer,
and
stuff like that. Oh, it's fantastic. And once he said that and demonstrated, I was like, man, why didn't I think about that? But I was wondering if that's why you rounded the backs of them.
That is why I rounded on the. I mean, you can do it with the carving hatchet too, but I don't think most people use it for a hunting axe. It's a little bit heavier.
Yeah, you could use it to split a carcass, no problem.
On the carving hatches specifically, I do that so you can choke right up to the head and get super good control, and it doesn't. Otherwise, it kind of digs into the web of your hand,
Yeah,
which isn't super comfortable. So, as it is rounded like that, it's nice and comfortable to choke up on it.
I love it, man. That's a fantastic.
Thank you.
There you go. Yep. So we're gonna need some more axes. real soon.
Right on.
Those didn't last a day.
Handy Mike asked if that is that a copper knife over my shoulder. No, I think you're looking at the middle one here. It's just a reflection of the light. It's a little kind of a Norwegian style knife.
What kind of is that? Is that maple?
It's stabilized curly maple, yeah.
Stabilized curly maple.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any stacked leather?
I have, not for a while, but yeah, I have in the past.
I love that knife. That right there is
I
like
do
the
too.
definition, and like that knife is going to be, that style is going to be super hot pretty soon. I think that is sweet. I like that.
Yeah,
It
I
just
do too.
screams. It just screams like. Now, is that like a stick tang that you're using on that, or
Yeah, it's a hidden tang. I mean
hidden tang?
the way I build them is the tang is it only comes in like an eighth of an inch from
Yeah.
the width right here, and then it starts to taper down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, everybody talks about full tang knives, and how strong they are and stuff. That's not where your knife is going to break. Full tang or otherwise. Like this thing is going to be just as durable as a full tang will be. The full tang is going to break right here at
Yeah.
the plunge line or somewhere up here. And same with this. If you do something incredibly stupid with it,
Mm-hmm.
which I've done
So,
before in testing.
so I'm gonna ask the question that I'm gonna get asked a gazillion times. Can you baton with it, bro?
Well, that depends. That depends on what you mean by baton too, because we have to define terms too. Because so one of the two knives that I warranted was a Nessmuck, which has never been designed for batoning, but that's what
No.
he was doing with it. And it didn't break the blade in half. It took a nice half moon out of it though.
Oh,
But like there had to have been some good knots in whatever he was
yeah.
knocking it through. And it was like, hey, I sell hatchets too. And it's like, oh yeah, I got one of those. I'm like, nice. Should use it. Anyway, but it's kind of amazing what you can put a knife through if you don't twist it or cant it. But why would you do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, but when it comes to like straight grain kindling, yeah, pretty much any knife you
Use this.
you
Use this
can you
Kephart.
can tap through just fine. But when it comes to knots and burl and stuff like that, dude,
Don't
just
do it.
pull out your axe.
Just don't do it. It's
Yeah.
like, just have a brain, people. Just use a brain. Like it. It's just not.
Well,
Man,
going back to the whole traditional thing, like I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going back to a knife that actually cuts, right?
right.
That's one of the travesties of the bushcraft thing is like I totally get there's a place for batoning within reason, but it seems like you guys want to take it to the extreme, and so what you end up with is knives that are like way too thick in the bevel, way too thick in the spine. You got this block of steel, and yeah, you can baton through pretty much anything, but
Yeah.
if you want to go actually cut something with it, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not so great. So
I'd say the Scandi grind probably is if you're gonna do something like, if you're going to do that, probably use a sticker Scandi grind knife. But I don't. I mean,
yeah.
I've never batoned anything that. I mean, batoning stuff is. I mean, I guess if you forgot your hatchet to make kindling with, but I don't really understand when you would use it that much. But you can. I mean, you can do it, but I don't really understand the purpose, I guess.
Yeah, and I've batoned, like we all
Oh, I
like
have
to
too.
process some kindling.
I've batoned
But
Romex with knives before, and you shouldn't do that. That's stupid.
but
Oh,
if you're not trying to beat it through knots and
yeah.
stuff, it's where you get all crazy. That's where you run into trouble.
We got a fan in the house. We got a fan. Here we go, Ron Land. I love all my
Hey,
axes
Ron,
and
how's it
hatchets right
going?
now. Look at there.
Right on.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I put up a little post on my channel to let everybody know. So
Yeah, I think
I'll
a
add
lot
a
of these
few
guys are
people.
from your channel because
Nice.
I think we're streaming over there on your channel.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that's pretty
I
cool.
haven't been watching the chat real closely.
I've
No.
been watching it here, so
Okay.
the, Overton says, never understood batoning in the real world. God, there's a smaller stick right over there if your fire is at that stage.
True. This is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Trees
But you
do
can do
come in
it.
smaller sizes.
Yep. There is using a knife and abusing a knife. It's two different things.
Yeah. But and so like I say, going back to most 99% of the people that are going to buy my knives are what's the word? What's the word? Conscientious, discerning. I don't know. I can't think of the word. Anyway,
It sounds good.
yeah, they're going to use it for what it's for, and then get the benefits of a high performing tool. So, well, that's awesome. You sold all the hatchets there.
Yeah, they're gone. They're
Yeah,
gone.
awesome.
What have we? Oh, we haven't even looked at. Oh, man, we haven't even looked at one of my favorites.
Run gun, stop, get help, phone a friend. Get one of those pull start fires that Yukon's been pitching.
Dude. Oh, there goes my camera again. I don't understand it. It works. It works 100% of the time, 70% of the time.
Yep. Yep.
I need, and I can't lock
You're
focus.
over teched. You're over.
Yeah.
You got to go back, a couple steps back.
I need a
It's too
producer
smart. It's
over
too
here.
smart.
I'm usually the producer for these things.
Yeah.
All right. So this guy, Nesbitt has always been one of my favorite designs, and it's nice to have a proper one in the shop.
Yeah. Right on.
That is.
Yeah. And speaking on this whole theme,
Look at that.
Yeah, Nesmuk, or that was his pen name. George Washington Sears
Yeah.
was the guy's name, and he was an outdoorsman and writer. And you can get a reprint of his book. I think it's called Woodcraft.
It is.
And I have one over there, I think, but it's been a while since. Anyway, he's got like a ink drawing of his cutting tools in there, along with some other kit. He's got the Nesmuk, and he talks about how he uses it. And actually, the original Nesmuk had a thinner blade than these have, but these are still nice and slicey with the flat grind. But anyway, he had a Nesmuk, that belt knife, and then he had a pocket knife, and then a small double bit hatchet.
Yep.
So you just, the whole batoning thing that just wasn't a thing, like you had the tools for the job. So,
have you ever made a double bit before?
I have not, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I've had people.
Could we reproduce that? The
Yeah,
double bit and the Nesbitt together as a set.
I was just thinking about doing it for a video, actually, recreating Nesmuk's hatchet.
Now he had a folder too, didn't he?
And he had they call him a jackknife or whatever back then. Yeah.
So I have a really good. He makes slip joints. Grayson Jennings here in North Carolina. So we should do the whole shebang, like a whole reproduce that entire
That'd
thing.
Be cool.
I've been wanting to do that for years, because I think it's just like I don't know. Maybe I'm the only fan out there of the whole thing, but I think, I don't know, to be able to have like a reproduction of it's the most to me it's the most iconic outdoorsman setup. Is that one of those three things?
Yep.
And to have the best of quality, like that would be, golly, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool. I've been thinking about, I've actually got one of my viewers on my channel has been asking me to do a double bit hatchet build forever. And then I was thinking about doing like a specific recreation of Nesmuk's hatchet. But even like Horst Kephart, same deal. He had the rather different sheath knife design, but he still had the trifecta.
Yep.
I think he used a single bit hatchet, and a pocket knife and stuff. But that way, all your bases are covered.
Yeah, but to have like really good quality, like way better quality than what that stuff would have been, I think would be so cool. Like, I mean, we've come
Yeah.
a long ways, and still since those days. What years would that have been?
Nesmith was I
When was
think
that
he was
book
right
published?
before turn of the century.
Yeah,
And I think Horace Kephart was like 20 years ish later.
later.
Maybe a little
Yeah,
bit more, a little later. But
and
yeah,
then you
100
had
years
the
ago.
guy that created the skookum. Um, well, that was years. That was several years after
Um,
that.
what's his name? He just died recently.
Yeah,
Morris Kahansky.
Morris Kahansky.
He
Yeah,
he didn't. I don't think he specifically created it. He had a student or somebody that took like his sort of, what would you put in a knife if you could, kind of a thing, and then he went and built it. Yeah, and then I don't know if that original guy's even still making them. I think
it's
he got
well,
swamped.
I've got a guy in Alabama that's making them,
I saw
and
that. Yeah, they look
he's
good.
doing a fantastic job with it. It's amazing to me, like brand new customers that are looking for that knife, and he's the only person I know right now. I mean, I'm sure there's probably somebody else out there making them, but his
Maybe I
his
haven't seen them.
rendition of them is really nice.
Yeah, they
It's
look like
so
the
much work, like
original.
that pommel and everything. Like,
Hmm.
and he has like a 10 by 10 shop too. It's really like it's pretty amazing, like what he does with them.
Yeah, that's
But he
crazy.
just come out with like the little mini one, and it's a little bit smaller.
I was
I
looking at
love
those
that
the other day. I
knife.
was like, oh, yeah, those are cool.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And but yeah, I think it's a I'm loving these classic designs coming back. You know, making a making a nice comeback, because this is like as a kid. I mean, this stuff like the Kephart and stuff. That's what I had as a kid. You know,
Right.
the
Well,
old.
and it all goes back to the whole. If you actually want to get out in the bush or wherever you have the opportunity to go chop a tree or whatever and make a fire, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
These are there. I mean, there was no pretense, around these designs back when these guys were using them. Like they were out there to be out in the woods, and they had the kit that they had because it made sense, not
Yep.
because their buddies thought it was cool. You know what I mean? Which that's fine too, right? You got to have something your buddies think is cool, but um, they the designs worked, and so I think a lot of people, our age and on either
Yeah.
side, both ways, are kind of reconnecting with that.
Now, do you have a leather sewing machine?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I was hoping so. I was like,
I
either this dude is the most
I've had one
mentally
for five,
like
about 5 or 6 years. Before that, I stitched them all by hand, which was
it's grueling.
extremely time
It's
consuming.
grueling. Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's
Yeah,
I love the way that you did this sheath, like for the Nesmith, like it just has that nice curve to it. It's beautiful. It's a
thank you.
it's
Yeah, I mean they're
pretty cool.
simple. They're kind of simple, no nonsense, functional. They're not the fanciest, but they're made to just
Made to
work.
work.
Yeah.
Made to work. So I know, like the last stream I did, like right when I first got these, and I ordered a bunch of them. What were they called? Um, some Skinner. Was it
Thanks,
something
Keith.
Skinner?
Sorry, Keith. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, it's cool.
Something
What
Skinner.
what was that knife? Everybody was like, and I went and looked it up.
Oh, the
It's
Sasquatch.
the Sasquatch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have one of those laying around there?
I don't.
You don't?
I need to. I have a couple. Actually, have a couple. I think actually Keith has one
Oh, really?
on order. Yeah, I got a couple that I got to make for some guys, and then I got to make an undisclosed number
Yep.
for Ridgerunner blades. So if you're looking for one, better be keeping a sharp eye out for that.
Better keep a
Now,
sharp eye out.
the reason I named it, so one of my local buddies here. Funny story. Well, kind of fun story. He somebody sent him a like a Green River style Skinner, and he showed it to me. And it's from I won't name the company, but a semi-production knife company here in the States. And we were looking at it, and he was going to send it to I think his brother or something like that. But we were looking at it, I was like, man, that grip's a little slight, like there's not a lot there to hold on to. And, just different things. And like, he's like, I kind of want one that's like this, but I'm like, okay, yeah, I can build you one here. So I
Yeah.
had this in mind, something like a man's knife, right? And so I forge it out, and I send him a picture of the rough form, the forged out, which has got some extra material on it and stuff,
Yeah.
before you're refining the profile. He's like, I think you should just leave it like that. I'm like, okay. So we ended up with this real, just bold sort of, blade design, and started finishing it out. And I'm like, if the Sasquatch was a knife, this is what it would look like, you know. And so that's why I called it the Sasquatch Skinner.
I
Or you can
like it.
use it to skin Sasquatch. Either way, doesn't.
Please do. Please do. Somebody please
Somebody
find
please
that
find that thing.
stupid, and I know it lives here, but I swear it's just some inbred dude that's up in the mountains. That's all it is.
I have a interesting story from. Well, I don't know if do we have time for a Sasquatch story?
Dude, we have all the time.
Awesome. Okay. It's not. It's a secondhand story, but it's one of my former
I'm gonna,
pastors. What's that?
I'm gonna blow you up for
Okay.
this so everybody gets really
Story
engaged
time.
with this. Yes.
Story time. Oh, real quick, run gun. Run gun. I'm sending when I get it made here. I'm going to send Jason. How many did you get or order? Half a dozen?
Yeah, something like that.
I think so.
Yeah,
So
we're Run Gun. You're good, man.
yeah,
Just
we'll have some.
I'm not gonna do pre-orders though.
Yeah, we'll
Gets
just
too messy.
yeah. Right. Um. So I hope that answers your question. Anyway, Sasquatch story. So this fella that when I lived back in Idaho, this was years ago. The pastor of my church, actually, he was originally from California, and like Central and Northern California or something like that. But he belonged to this sort of group that did like scientific sort of exploration missions or whatever out in the woods. And if obviously you're familiar with California, like northern half of the state, there's some remote stuff out there. Um, anyway, so one like botanical or some kind of organization wanted him and his group to go out and find. They did some either satellite or something like that. They'd found what they thought was like the oldest or biggest redwood or some kind of tree, but it was like way out in the middle of nowhere. And so they wanted them to go see if they could find it and measure it or whatever. I don't know, something like that. So anyway, they're out there several days hike from anywhere, and they end up either finding the tree or getting close to it, but they end up for the night a couple days into this expedition in this sort of a not really a wash, but kind of like a little shelf or a bench, with some terrain up on one side and forest all the way around. So they start making camp for the night, and he's like, I kept feeling like there was something watching us, and so it starts getting dark, and they've got the fire going and everything like that. And a little later on, he starts hearing some noises up on the bench or up on the ridge there, and this log comes crashing down off this bench, and nobody got hit, but like this should have never, like, no reason for this to fall or roll down the hill, crashing down into their camp. And I don't know if it happened a couple times or just once, but freaked them all out. And anyway, they end up getting the data on the tree or whatever, and they end up leaving shortly thereafter, a couple days later or whatever. But so he was talking to this Native American from the California. I don't know what they're called out there, what the particular tribe is. But he's talking to this fella, and he's like telling him the story. And the Native American fella was telling him, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, no, those are my people. They're still up there. And so apparently the story is there's still some of the tribe is still up there, and they don't want to be found. So who knows?
Oh, so
I
that's
don't know.
what it is.
Could be. Never know. But
Well,
that was the story. And this is somebody that I could trust enough not to make something
yeah.
up. So interesting.
I wonder what the Sasquatch is out here, because they can't be everywhere. And is there only one?
I don't know, because I just read about it like a couple weeks ago, how they just contacted some tribe in the Amazon that had never been
I saw that.
contacted.
Yep.
And people on it, I don't know that we necessarily like recognize how. I know it's probably far fetched, but like there's a lot of remote country in the even in the lower 48, which is kind of where it'd have to be
Yeah,
because anything north of that's too harsh, you know.
yeah.
But who knows? I don't know. Could be.
I think Overton knows it is actually Evan Dixon from Radio Made Easy. It is it's the closest thing it's the best explanation I've seen.
That's funny.
But if you did meet Sasquatch, this would be what you want. You'd want this, I think. This would be a good one to have. I don't know how I still have this thing. This thing
I
is
don't
a
know.
beast.
I had a couple on my website and they went pretty fast, and then I need to tell because there was somebody else asking about one. I need to tell them to go. Well, they haven't.
This thing is an
contacted me
absolute
again.
beast.
You need to tell them to go
Is
over
that
to
a
your
quarter?
site.
Is that a quarter-inch spine?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, again, just how comfortable the handles are. And they're not too thick. I
Mhm.
love it. That super nice sheath too. See, there you
It's
go.
a nice chopper size. Just but you can still use it like a knife. You know,
You can still use
I mean, you can still feather stick with that or whatever you're trying to do.
I love it.
Slice up the camp meat for dinner.
That's right. It's a wilderness Bowie. I like it. I like those bolts, those Loveless bolts. I think that looks good. It's a cool look.
Yeah, because you can get them like all stainless or all brass or whatever, but I like to get them with that contrast.
I do too. I like that a lot.
Look on them there. It's kind of cool.
So what are you looking forward to next year? We're out here on the right coast. We're only about an hour and a half from 2025.
Yeah, right.
Do you do
What
like New Year's resolutions? Are you one of those guys?
do I have New Year? No, I don't do New Year's resolutions. If there's something I need to resolute, I just need to do it whenever it needs done, right?
What a novel idea. We'll do that on Monday, right?
I left to do this, but I gotta wait till January.
Yeah, gotta wait till Monday. That's the excuse, or whatever,
right? Yeah. Right. What I'm looking forward to, I guess, generally is just well, I mean, specifically with like the business stuff, we were talking about 2024, and I was watching the chat just a little bit, and I guess it was for a lot of people kind of a pain in the butt.
Well, it just felt like it was my first year owning Ridgerunner, myself, and I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of stuff happened in 2024.
Yeah. I feel like business wise, the beginning to middle of 2024 is when all the inflation and all that crap finally caught up.
Yep.
And because things were, I started noticing it a couple of years ago, honestly.
Yeah.
I
did too.
Couldn't deny it, but it really started to feel like it really started to stall. And, the beginning of 2024. And so, with some different things going the direction they have is certainly encouraging.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, brighter horizons are ahead. But I guess what I'm looking forward to in 2025 specifically is just continue with business wise specifically is just continuing to grow Fire Creek Forge. And I'm, really appreciative and, happy about being able to work with you and Ridgerunner Blades and get more people awesome knives. So, at some point, I don't know when, I'm kind of thinking and praying about it and stuff, but I'd like to. It's always hard to think about bringing on people, because it's like there's just it's a whole nother component and like whatever to the whole thing. But eventually, that's kind of the direction I'd like to go, and because I'm kind of there's some of the things that happened this year is I was able to kind of solidify some things in my processes and my skills, I guess you can say, and my production as opposed to 2023 went up significantly for one person, And so that's encouraging, and keep doing that, But at some point, I'm just one guy, so there's kind of a limit to how much I can humanly, you know,
Yeah,
do. So, but
it is. I hired my first full time employee this year,
mhm.
and for one of my other businesses, and oh man, what another level of just complications it brings. The good, it's all really good, but my word, it's like, whew, it's you have to have
Yeah.
it's like you have to have two brains. Like,
Well, just the level of responsibility. Like
mhm,
you're now responsible. Like, I gotta make sure that this guy's got work
mhm,
for his patient. Like now, if I don't have work for him, like what's I don't know if he has a family or whatever, but that kind of thing. It's like crud.
I know
So that I hear you. And then
it's it's a yeah. I'm looking. I mean, I don't know. I feel
yeah.
like
What are you looking forward to?
I mean, I'm just excited. I think I learned a whole lot this past year. I learned a whole lot of what not to do
Yeah.
this past year. You know, it's you know I'm reap you got to reap some of the bad to recognize it sometimes, and I really learned a lot. I feel like I didn't really know at the beginning of 20, like when I bought the business, it was kind of an identity crisis anyway,
Hmm.
and so like establishing that identity, and it took me longer than what I would like to think that it would. It's taken me a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to feel. I feel, and it's not even like the beginning of the year. It's like I finally feel like this month, even like I feel like I'm in a different place, and I'm
Good.
excited about that.
Yeah.
Uh, I
That's
feel
awesome.
like I feel like our store, our brick and mortar, is literally probably 3 weeks from it finally being done, um, and so I'm excited about that. It's a it's really nice to feel that kind of you know feel that energy, going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'll be cool that you'll have a physical location
Yeah.
too. I'm gonna have to come out there and take
Well,
a look. See.
how far is the nearest airport from you?
Like an hour. Like a
Really?
decent airport. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Because
too
I'm
far.
flying. I'm coming to Texas in January to do some filming. Because my other business is a video photography, like marketing business,
Right.
and so we're coming down to film a knife and maker down there in Texas. But I'm just wondering if maybe we could schedule some time to come down and shoot some content with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we're about an hour southwest of Lubbock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do they have a pretty decent airport?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, Lubbock's like what 300,000 people, something
Oh,
like
really?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I mean it's not huge, but
Yeah.
it's comparable to like Spokane probably.
Sure.
If you I don't know if
But
you've been there, but
I have been to Spokane.
okay.
Um, I've
And
flown into
Spokane's not
that
huge either,
terrifying airport.
but
Golly dang, man, that was just awful.
was it
I
snowing?
flew. No, it's just like flying from here to there, like crossing over the Rockies, and you just have to lose so much altitude to
Oh
land
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they literally turned the plane sideways, and you're just falling out of the sky, trying to lose altitude. And
Yep.
I was going on a hunt in Montana, and so we flew into Spokane and drove through the Overton calls it like a one cigarette pass through Idaho.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the right there on western Montana. But yeah, I'm not a tremendously. I just remember that was absolutely. It was like the first. I was pretty young then. It was like the first real time on a plane too, and it was right. Oh, it was right after 9/11.
Oh yeah.
It was. I think it was right after 9/11.
Like who's in the cockpit?
like a month and a half after 9/11. Like
Oh man.
it was not far. But yeah, we'll be down. WC Knives. You ever heard of him?
Oh yeah.
Be down
Yeah,
at
he's
his
over on the
shop.
east side of Texas. Yeah.
He's east side. We're coming down there the 20th to shoot some content, and
Oh,
then
cool.
um, so going to try to do some more of that stuff this year. Kind of going out and seeing the makers, and we shoot some documentary type stuff.
Nice.
So
Yeah, that'd be cool.
if you're up for something like that, maybe we can set it up.
Yeah, you bet.
That'd be a lot of fun. Come see the shop. Maybe we just pick up an order while we're there.
Yeah, yeah. Better get busy.
Well, I
Yes.
know. I love how everything's going. I like it. I love all those ironwood handles too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, I just ordered some more ironwood. I have some on hand, but I was thinking about how many we need to make, and I was like, yeah, I
is
better
that
get some more coming.
is that toxic like mahogany or anything? Is it?
I mean, well, if you aerosol any
Yeah.
wood product and breathe it, it's not going to be good for you. That's one of the biggest pains in the necks with what I do is dust control. And I actually just last several weeks built a well, actually it was in the middle of your last order.
Oh,
I was like working on that, and like I had already planned to do this grinding booth thing. So I finally have a setup that I'm happy with. But yeah, you don't want to breathe it. I use PPEs and different
yeah.
things. But once it's all finished up, it's
Back when I used to build guitars for a living
oh really?
for
Okay.
several years there, and man, we used a lot of mahogany and walnut, and man, that stuff will tear you up if you don't
Yeah.
have a good dust collection system and a good mask. Golly dang, man, that some of
Hmm.
that African wood straight up kill you. That dust, it's like it just instantly creates an infection in your sinuses if it gets in there.
Yeah,
It's
most
not
things in
pretty.
Africa are trying to kill you, so that
Man,
fits.
I'd hate to live there. It's like the whole place is Sasquatches.
Well, I went to Zimbabwe in 2018.
Oh man.
It's actually not super dissimilar terrain wise to like where I live now.
Oh wow.
Um, actually, it's got a little more topography. Actually, it's more flat here, but just like the dry.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have like they these trees that are just all thorns. You know, like what do you call that? Oh, we just call that a thorn bush tree. Like okay, don't go by it. Stab you in
Well,
the eyeball.
so before the stream started in the mod group, we were talking, and everybody's wanting to know how, if it was you or one of your other siblings that dropped Yukon on his head.
I can neither confirm or deny any of these above statements. Hey, that was like a long time. That was like last year, man. Okay.
I was like, I don't know, guys. He just seems so normal. I don't understand what happened. Like, I don't like Yukon is so Yukon, and then Elijah's like he's just like a normal guy. I don't understand. Like, what happened? I
Therapy. No,
I was like, Yukon's like this drunk Canadian that come out of the that stumbled across the border and got lost, and he just stayed. He's got the Canadian accent and everything.
I started calling him Southern Canadian.
Yep.
In the chats and or the live stream. Professional redneck. I want to make him a patch. Professional redneck.
Professional redneck.
With like you probably know some good design people.
I do.
So this is a good thing. So what I'm thinking, because I asked him about it, and I was like, well, and I was like, there be any what's the word? Demand for it, and at least one person. One's enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, like it's sort of a line drawing, real basic face, beard, and then like AR, wrench, and then maybe behind, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, professional redneck, and then like Yukon on the hat. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if I have the skills to pull it off, but
I've been meaning to talk to him. So one of my other businesses that I'm part owner of, we do merch for YouTubers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And so we do all Overton stuff. We do Wrangler Stars merch.
Oh, nice.
And so it's that's a lot of fun. I worked all year with that business, and we all three got Glocks for Christmas. So that was
nice.
our Christmas present.
I had a excuse me, this patch, it's backwards. This one right here. I actually had a viewer subscriber on my channel reach out to me. He was starting up a little design company, and I worked with him and gave him a sort of a shout out on a video and stuff like that. But he's disappeared, and so I'm like, man, because I really like that one.
Yeah.
but I reached out to him for another idea on something else recently, and I guess he's not doing it anymore. So
Huh. Well, if you ever need anything, let me know. I'll put you in touch. I've got a couple guys that I use for
yeah,
illustration work, and it's not it's pretty cool. I I'm not a drawer. I'm not very
yeah,
good
I
at
mean,
the illustrate, but I love like hand drawn illustrations type stuff.
mhm,
We're working
yeah,
on a shirt right now for Mr. Windex, and I like the whole process of doing it and like doing the inspiration behind it, and then I like to give it to somebody and say, "Okay, you do this."
yeah, yeah. I'm not super high tech, so if I did it myself, it'd be like 6 months later. I got the first.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that anyway. So yeah,
Now, how I was going to ask you, like, how are you putting your logo on your knives?
I have a little laser.
Laser. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a super expensive one, but
Yeah.
it works.
We just got one at the shop. Uh, uh, I was curious. I didn't know if that was laser or what that was that you were doing it with.
Yeah, I used to
Looks
do
really good.
electric, like
Yeah.
electrochemical etching,
Yeah.
and I had these stencils that I would make, but I could never. It was really limited because the plastic stencil material with the sticky back,
Yep.
and you couldn't really get the lettering down small enough and
Hmm.
make it legible. So it wasn't. It worked okay, but it's kind of nice to be able to just put a laser
Yeah.
logo on there if I don't stamp it in on a forge blade or something.
Yeah. All my
But
makers that are still doing that, they don't have one. We're just going to start lasering all their stuff for them. They can ship it to us blank, and we're going to start doing that because that's like a whole nother thing. Like that's a whole nother day of doing something instead of just sending it to us, and it just takes us like 30 seconds. We're done.
yeah, yeah. I enjoy being able to just make knives, put them in a box, and send them off to you, and then
Yeah.
you can deal with it. So that works pretty good too.
We deal with the people. We
Well,
deal
I
with the
mean,
people.
it's like as you know, small business, like I said a couple times, it's just me, and so I'll be in here shipping stuff or listing stuff or whatever instead of making knives. It's part of what I do, but it's like, so if having partnership where that some of that's
Hmm. I
taken
like it.
care of, yeah, it works good.
I like it. The as a lot of what we do is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time just to list things. People don't realize like that alone takes a lot of
Hmm.
time, you know. And so but then all the marketing and time and stuff that you put into products, it's a lot of work. It's not like
Yeah,
just, oh,
it
we put
is.
a knife out there and
It
you know,
is. That's
we're working on a design like it got announced that we were working on this like brand new design with this maker, and it's going to be exclusive to the store and all this, but it's kind of a big deal in his crowd, like in his group of people. And
hmm
dude, I've gotten a taste of like what you guys have to deal with from people like wanting custom stuff. Like I this one dude has called me up like 10 times. Like every other day he's called me and told me like how we needed to build this knife and what it needs to be. And I'm like, dude, I'm not the one building it. It's just
yeah.
coming here. I'm just
These days 99.9 of my people are really good.
yeah.
It's been a while since but you do get those. It's like I came up with the perfect survival knife,
Yeah.
and they send you a drawing. It's like, um, yeah,
Yeah.
but but when you're early into it, you're like trying to get all the work you can. You're like, yeah, I can build that for you,
Yeah.
And
I
nowadays, you're
know.
like, I'm not your guy. I'm sorry, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
not going to fit what I'm doing. So
Usually the people that call, because I've had a few people this past year that's called and they're like, oh, they found this thing at a yard sale and they feel like it would be the best thing in the world and feel like they couldn't find any more of them. They want somebody to build them, and it's well, the reason they're not making them anymore is because nobody wanted them. Like
yeah,
it was made in China, and like like you can't get a 3-piece set for $75.
Like the old crate
Like,
openers or something that you
yeah,
found in those survival catalogs like
yeah,
10 or 20 years ago.
yep,
Those things. Yeah. I think that's what there is for opening crates or something, but I don't know if you used to get those little, there's a bunch of them, like probably Sportsman's Guide and stuff.
yep.
They sold them.
And I mean, it's like this guy here in the chat, just a perfect butthole. Perfect survival knives with 3/8 at the spine and have saw teeth on the back.
That's right. Yeah, that is written down in a vault somewhere where they care about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Listen, all I'm saying is the AR shape 15 or AR-15 shaped blade would crush.
What you need now is a
Yeah.
bayonet lug on that there
Yeah.
thing, and
Remember the pistol knives where it was a pistol and the knife would fold out the end?
yeah,
A little
those
slip
are
joint blade.
everyday carry, man.
I mean, it's exactly what I want to carry. I mean,
In
it's
fact,
just perfect. Yeah.
you get a good one when you pull the trigger and a gun goes off. The knife comes out at the same time because you're out of ammo because it's only
Yeah.
a one shot.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man.
It's just awesome. But oh boy. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, are you gonna have offer knife sharpening at the brick and
Yeah.
mortar?
Yeah. So I've got a big I'm a Wicked Edge dealer. And so
Right.
I've got a big Wicked Edge setup that we'll have there.
Nice.
And
That's the other
two,
thing I think
this
every maker gets asked is like, "Oh, you sharpen?" And I, people, but I'm not talking about like my knives, like just any knife, and I
Yep.
don't, except for friends, and
Yep.
stuff. But it's like, nah, I don't really do that,
my sharpening guru is actually Taylor Grinds. It's kind of funny. The guy that was
Yeah.
and he's moving his shop 4 doors down from my shop. And so
Nice.
I'm just going to send all the boomers with cases that are dull down to him.
Yep. There you go.
I mean, the thing is, man, we're in the middle of nowhere out here. The post office and the little cafe called the Dairy Bar is really the only other two things. There's a vet's office too, but that's literally the only two. Us, and we got a vape shop now. I mean, everybody needs a vape shop, and so
well, as soon as they legalize weed out there, you'll have one of those 2 or 3 of those.
That's what they're setting up ready for. They're just waiting on it. But now we have a taco truck that parks like 4 times a week.
There you go.
Like right almost in front of the shop. So that's been kind of dangerous. They're actually really good.
Okay.
They're really, really good.
Nice.
And so, yeah.
You can't overlook a good taco.
Can't overlook a good taco.
That is one fun thing about living here is that you can get some pretty decent
tacos.
What's the proper term these days? Latinx food? No.
Oh my God.
Pretty good Mexican food around here.
That's like calling
I have one of my buddies
Americans.
He cooks a lot. He's like makes Mexican PB&Js, because he's Mexican. That's what he told me. I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of like calling Indians Native Americans.
Yeah.
It's like they're Indians.
Some of them don't like it. They're like, stop calling us that.
I know. I've met several of them. And
yeah, for real. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We could take this stream in a whole nother direction.
We could go all different directions.
Yep.
Looking at the chat here a little bit here. I need a Glock 19 shaped out the front knife.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's people have great ideas. Let's see.
I know, yeah, they don't like that.
They don't like that at all.
I know.
That's what I was. My full-time videographer, he's Mexican, and I should call him that one day and see what he says.
Well, it's funny because my buddy who's Mexican, he's constantly making jokes.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, stop it, man! You're making me uncomfortable. Anyway, I haven't told him that, man.
That's
if he might even be watching right now.
That's I love, man. I love Mexico. If I could just pick one food to stay here, if I could just eat one food the rest of my life, it'd be Mexican food. I love it.
It's good. I enjoy it a lot. So bringing it back around to knives, because so that's one reason why I really like making kitchen knives too, which we haven't even talked about those.
No.
But anyways, because that's one knife out of some that you're going to use all the time. And I just enjoy slicing up your onions, your jalapenos. I make my own sauerkraut. Go in there and just, real thin. It's just fun. Like, I don't know, I enjoy it. So
I do too, and we're gonna have to get some of them too because we're gonna have a whole kitchen cutlery side of the store.
yeah,
Because it really.
This
You got one?
Um,
Is this the wrought iron one?
this is the wrought iron one,
Yeah.
and it's got a nice sort of octagonal. This is ironwood handle.
Can I get that one?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah,
Just send that on.
sure.
I watched you make that knife, and it was really cool.
Scary thin.
Good Lord.
I kind of I pull a lot of cues. I'm not going to call them Japanese because I'm not Japanese, so I can't make a Japanese blade. That's impossible, right? But I take a lot of cues from the Japanese bladesmithing tradition because I just like, because it's so functional. Like they're the Japanese bladesmithing tradition, as far as I know, I'm sure there's others that are similar, but it goes back further than any other.
Yeah.
Like there's old like Nordic stuff, but you have to dig it up. Like nobody learned from generations who's still doing it. You know what I'm saying? Not like in Japan. It's been preserved very, very well. And so just the way that they do things you get into the forging techniques and the metallurgy and how they do stuff is just super functional. It's like you only do it because it needs to be done, and you do it really well, and then you don't do stuff that you don't need to do. So anyway, you've got just a super thin laser edge, laser grind. And the wrought iron came off as some kind of big structure because this was a 2.5 inch. No, it's in the video, like you said.
Yeah.
2.5 inch nut threaded onto a big old bolt or shaft or something. But you see those.
That's so cool.
Wrought iron looks like. It's got all that. It's slag, but it's a combination of like silica, silicon dioxide, and different impurities, and so it's got this natural pattern to it.
That's super cool.
I didn't do anything to it except for forge it out, sand it, finish it, and then etch it. So it just kind of brings it out.
How old do you think that big fastener was?
I don't know. I don't know when they stopped using wrought iron, completely. I'm sure up into the first several decades probably of the 20th century, they were still using it some. I don't know, but it could be 100 years old.
That's super cool.
So, but anyway, yeah. So that's another thing I like building, just because they get used.
Yeah,
and the difference you were telling me about, and I think you got it from Jason Knight. One of his knives.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Going back to the whole production knife thing. Any kitchen knife that you get off the shelf, it's going to be almost every single time it's going to be softer steel and a thicker grind. And it'll work, but you get one of these handmade knives by somebody that is intentional about knows how to build them. Because I've seen some out there that are more like a knife shaped object too.
Yeah,
that are handmade. But anyway, they just cuts through stuff like butter.
This is the one that Jason gave me, and I love it. It's coated in wax right now. I had to bring it out here. I didn't have a since we got our little girl. I had to be really selective about. I only have one little section to be able to keep kitchen knives, and this one was a little bit too long to keep in the house. So when I'm smoking, I have to bring this, or I'm actually cooking out. I take it in the house.
Yeah, nice. Fire Creek Forge sponsor says ours is from Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're allowed to have that username in that comment.
Yeah, send that thing over, man. That thing looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful knife. I loved watching it. You make that thing. That was really cool.
Thanks.
That's a what's the spine thickness about?
It's so it's got a little bit of distal taper. It's about I want to say, well, 9/64 ish. It's like a heavy eighth,
Yeah,
you know. But
that's sweet.
yeah, it's a full flat grind. I like to. I mean, you can get the spine a little bit thinner, but this gives it a little bit more weight for the
Yeah,
size of knife, but it's still super thin through here. So
it's a beautiful piece.
yeah, thank you.
Yep, your kitchen stuff looks great. I was actually scrolling through some of them, looking at them. So why are you not on Instagram?
I'm not a Meta fan.
Oh yeah,
I've tried getting on Instagram a couple times. There's just so much crap on there, and I don't have time to manage all this social
yeah, I
media
know.
stuff anyway. I'm like, nah, forget that noise.
So what's 125 CR1? What's that?
Yeah, so 125 CR1, excuse me, it's a high carbon steel. Obviously, it's got 1.25% carbon, and then a little bit of chromium and maybe a little bit of something else. I can't remember, but just a little bit, not much. And so it's very similar to um, the traditional Japanese blade steels. If you're familiar with those, are
Yeah.
like white paper
hmm
number one, and then there's like white paper number two. There's a couple different ones, but those are very simple but pure carbon steels. And so, um, going back to the traditional bladesmithing techniques, the way that they uh, forge and heat treat these blades are very specific to the materials that they're using, which is these simple high carbon steels. And so, using the 125 CR1, you get that edge retention from that comparatively very high carbon content, and you can forge it and heat treat it in this traditional fashion, which is kind of a whole nother skill set in itself, but it's something that I enjoy doing and working on. Um, so anyway, it's got a nice fine grain structure, high hardness. This is how I heat treat them. So you got that really good edge retention and that nice sharpenability of a carbon steel. Um, so I started kind of using it more for the kitchen knives because you want sort of more of that abrasion resistance, and you're not going to be chopping stuff with it.
Yeah.
You're slicing and
hmm
cutting. So we're going to optimize that. And so going back to the whole edge retention thing, you've got steel selection is one of those factors, and so that's what I try to do is
Yeah.
pair up the steel with the application, and then get the best heat treat out of it for that
I dig
process.
it.
Yeah.
I dig it. I'm still learning about some of those off the, like, I'm just not familiar with them. So,
Yeah, there's so many steels out there. Um, it's hard to keep up with them all, but I I deal mostly with the high carbon, and I've
yeah.
used a few different stainless steels. I know you're a huge fan of MagnaCut.
It's the only steel I hate
What
besides
what
D2.
just out of curiosity, what don't you like about it?
It's too hard to sharpen. It's too hard to
Yeah.
maintain. It's not a knife. It's not a steel for somebody that doesn't have a wicked edge or a belt sharpener. It's just not. I don't like it. I think it's I mean I one of my I mean I say that, but one of the folders I have a Strider SMF that I carry when I'm carrying a folder, and it's MagnaCut, and I hate that steel. It I think it's hard to get sharp too. I think it's hard still to get sharp. Now it'll hold an edge. I mean, it holds an edge, but I just think it's too hard.
Do you have you used like S35 VN and anything like that? Kind of
S35, yeah, I like S35.
how
It's
does
good.
that how do you feel like that compares to MagnaCut?
It's
as far as
I mean, it's not as hard. It's not as hard. At least the
it,
ones I've had is not as hard.
yeah, because I mean a lot of that. So I made a couple knives out of MagnaCut just to kind of try the steel out,
Yeah.
and I sent one to a client who hunts a lot, and he's used it a little bit. And then I've got actually this one right here just to see what I think of it.
Do you
And
like it?
well, I mean, I'm not. I've only made two out of MagnaCut because I'm not sold on it.
I think it's a fad still, man. I think it's
If
going to be gone. And
if you need here's the deal. In my opinion, if you really need a stainless steel, then we can have that conversation. But
right.
90% of the people out there don't need a stainless steel. In my like, what I feel like is unless you're in the rainforest or out on the ocean in the salt
Well,
water,
that's the only place I see
probably
where is.
don't.
Yeah, I think it's would be amazing as a dive knife or something like that, where you know it's never going to rust.
Or a
And,
fillet knife. I get that,
yeah,
obviously.
I don't think it. I mean, I don't know that you could get it having a flex to be a fillet knife. Could you?
It just depends on how thick it is, really.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that, so the guy who developed this steel is a PhD metallurgist,
Mm-hmm.
and so I mean, I guess that is one advantage is for a maker for makers. There's a lot of information on how to use it. There's different ways you can heat treat it. So, you know, I think finding the optimal heat treat for it that could be an issue. Um, but I'm just not sold on stainless in general. You know, I've
I'm
used
not either.
I've used S35VN, which I've liked that when when
Yeah,
it's
I
been
like it.
when I've been requested, and then AEBL, which is a big one a lot of people like and use for a stainless, and it's supposed to be pretty tough and stuff, but you do lose a little bit of edge retention because it's only got 0.6% carbon in it.
That's become my favorite stainless. It's ABL.
And it's going to be easier to sharpen
Yeah.
because but again, it goes back to the whole trade-off thing. And that's
Yep.
like in the world of knives and knife making, there's always a trade-off. It's like you want it to hold an edge forever, but
You don't.
it's going
Yeah.
to be harder to sharpen. And
Yep. I think MagnaCut is. I don't think it'll last. I don't think it's going to be one of those steels that there's a million knives out there, and it's. I mean, it's big in the EDC world. Like everybody wants everything MagnaCut, 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 and I think you definitely do appeal to a market by having MagnaCut. But I mean, I'm just honest about stuff. Like
yeah,
if somebody asks me if you like something, I'm not gonna say I like it just because I want to sell it. Like
right.
if you don't know, if you haven't educated yourself enough on it, then you need to do it on your own. Like there's a million variants out there. I mean, I've sold a lot of MagnaCut knives. I just don't I personally would never want it ever. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a Crucible looking like they're going belly up.
Well, that's
It
the
may
other
not be a
thing too,
thing.
is like it's so, and that goes back to the, I mean, obviously, high carbon isn't a comparison to stainless, but again, you got these different brands, big or smaller, are making a ton of stuff out of MagnaCut, and I expect that somebody will buy the company and keep it going. But
I'm
if it
sure.
didn't, like maybe not. Like they're the only people making it. They're the only company making that stuff. So you're
Yep.
dependent on that. Whereas with like 5200 and a lot of other steels, but 5200,
Yeah.
it's widely available.
They must have been so mismanaged because for them to come out with MagnaCut and all these other steels, I mean, they rule the knife world.
I
They
know.
rule it,
I had the same
and
thought. I was like, what are like I know the steel business is tough right now with China and everything like that, but they have that stuff's patented. It's like nobody else is making it.
yeah,
Yeah. I had the same thought. I don't know.
I think the only thing worse than MagnaCut to me are $700 knives made with D2.
Yeah.
That's like my other pet peeve.
I think D2 has been the victim of a lot of bad heat treating.
It's the victim of China, is what it is.
Well, yeah, that too.
I
Yeah.
mean, they heat treat what I think with their freaking grill over there. Like I don't, and
Yeah.
that's the one thing. Like I don't carry Chinese made knives, and that's one huge reason. I know they can make great stuff. I know that they have the capabilities to do whatever
If
you want
somebody
them to
pays
do.
them to, but that's
If
part of the other problem is like
yeah,
somebody's gonna sell this brand and they don't want to pay
yeah,
more than 50
yeah,
cents for the thing, and
yeah. I mean,
like
I've seen a lot
okay,
of the Rikes and stuff like that, and they're nice. They're really cool flippers and stuff. I mean, but it ain't my cup of tea. I just, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get cancer just holding the thing. What's left on this
what
thing?
alloy is this?
Yeah, and you
My
really
teeth are
don't know
glowing.
what you're getting either. You really don't with a lot of this
No,
stuff.
no, because if they like, I saw one just the other day. If they're gonna completely rip off a design, why do we?
Yeah,
Why would you imagine they're gonna be meticulous about the other stuff? you know,
they're not. Man,
you
they're
know.
picking up coffee cups and everything else and throwing it in the crucibles and melting it down. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I'm just not. I know D2 done right could be nice. I know that. Like it can be nice, but I don't like $700 folders made with D2 steel. Come on, please, please. Put Magna Cut on that. I mean, at
Right.
least do that. That's a
Yeah.
great place for it. But I don't know. Every
Oh,
time I see
Over
dude,
Overton wants an obsidian knife that he can baton grade 8 bolts with.
there you go.
I think that's what Sasquatch uses, actually.
I think so too. That's how he cuts those rocks off and throws them down the hill at you.
That's right.
German made D2 knife is nice. Maybe so. Why Germans are using D2? That's not a German made steel anyway, is it?
Well, I think there's a lot of places that make it. It's been
Really?
around forever. I don't know if
I didn't know ABL one of their I mean, it's made in China and America. I didn't realize that.
it's also made in Sweden, Uddeholm. Is
Is
that
it?
Sweden? Yeah, it was originally a razor blade steel.
Yeah.
That's what it was developed
Man, it
for.
gets wicked. It can get sharp.
Hmm.
It can get sharp. Chinese D2 has been known to contain up to 40% holocaust.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Also, fluoroluminescent. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's why we don't do custom stuff. It's oh
Custom
me.
stuff.
That's why you don't do custom knives.
Oh yeah.
My business partner when I had when I was part owner of a guitar shop, we'd have all these people call them. You think knife world is bad? Okay, you should be in the guitar world where everybody is
Oh
mentally
man.
ill. Everybody, every musician. I mean, we're all got a touch of the tism. I mean, it's real. And
Hmm.
so they call Walton this crazy, they got this great idea. They smoked too much, they did too much acid the night before, and they come up with this great idea. And the business partner, I answered the phone majority of the time because it just wasn't good when he did. I'd hear him yelling on the phone, "You're an idiot! What's wrong with you? You're just a dumbass." Just going off on these people like that's the worst idea ever. It's fun.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you write a prayer on a piece of paper and light the forge for my custom? Oh, run gun. I don't think he's a Muslim.
Is that a Muslim thing?
I don't know. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And I want it tomorrow.
Yeah. Under $200. Yeah. Hmm.
It's just
Yeah, you got it.
yeah.
That sounds entirely reasonable. I think.
Right. What's the shipping time on Alibaba right now?
That's funny.
Amazon does it. Yep. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. I do like, I only really carry one. I carry Spyderco, Benchmade, but the main like carry knife, like EDC knife I carry is my Microtex. And they're a North Carolina company. I think to me that is like the they're pretty genius about their stuff. Like they've done a good job doing stuff, and there's a million different, all these different companies. It's just they're everywhere now. They're they hide behind this
Mhm.
illusion of being American assembled, or they
Oh, yeah,
say
global
made in
part.
America. Like no, no, no. They're all made in China, and you buy parts and put them together here. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten to see behind the curtains of a lot of these different companies and stuff because Ridgerunner's brand used to have way more brands, way more. And some of these boutique companies, man, like especially the folder industry, dude, it's almost unethical. It's almost, they ride that line where it's like it's not lying, but you're lying,
Yeah,
you know?
the legalese or whatever.
Yeah,
Technically,
yeah. But like Overton said, Tecto, that's the one of them. Cobra Tech. Cobra Tech's a Texas company, but they don't really try. They say it's Asian made and they assemble it, but and they're
mhm,
$60 to $80. I mean, what do you think you're getting? It's a D2 blade.
yeah.
What do you think you're getting for 60 to $100? It's going to be, you know, the thing I like about Microtech is they have stuck. They have really stuck with. They produce a quality product, and it's something
Mhm,
that and if there's a problem with one, you're going to have problems with them because there's so many moving parts to the thing. They're going to get gunked
right.
up, but man, they take care of it. They send it back. It's no, um, you know, it's never a problem. I never have a problem with it. And two, here's another cool thing. I don't know if you ever met. Have you ever met Marfion?
Hmm.
Man, I think he like literally he just got like radically saved.
Oh, yeah?
This is bizarre. Like he's completely changed this past year.
Hmm,
But I saw him and his wife both got saved and baptized at their church. He's a
cool.
totally he's from just watching this stuff. He's a totally different person. It's really cool. I love seeing that kind of transformation in somebody. That's one of my favorite things on the planet.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
but
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say you were talking about all these different companies, like, that's the thing about, I mean, the knife world, the knife market is
Yeah,
so huge,
it is.
and there is, in general, there is a place for
Mhm.
everybody, kind of the thing, like your $50
Sure.
whatevers and and that's the thing is, like, as a maker, and some guys are interested in being a maker and stuff like that, you have to figure out what sector of the market you're trying to service, or address. And because I mean, there's guys that are, you sell tens of thousands of dollars for this fancy
Mhm.
Damascus knife and spend 6 months to make, which is cool,
Yeah.
you know, but and you kind of, what I've kind of continued to focus in on is, like, I just really enjoy making knives for people to
Mhm.
use, like really good knives for people to use. And so that's kind of the backbone or the bread and butter or whatever, or what I'm
I
doing.
think I think it
So
that's the kind of the sweet spot, right? Because it allows more people to have really good stuff, like stuff that they
mhm,
can actually use. And I think you know
right.
the price point is it's not it's not unattainable for anybody. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and occasionally I have people, "Oh, that's a lot of money." And, like, okay, you haven't shopped for
No.
a hand, you haven't shopped in this sector. That's okay. You can go to
Yeah.
Walmart. That's fine.
Those
You
same
know,
people will
because
spend 4 grand on a set of wheels for their car. And I mean it's all
right.
about
Yeah.
priorities and you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just yeah, it's a different world. It's a and
Yeah.
but yeah, I think, you know, there's definitely more and more people that are I like the buy once, cry once thing. Like if I want to buy something, I want to buy something really I don't like shopping. It's not my thing. I don't like
Right.
to go buy this,
Yeah.
but I hate throwing
Yeah.
stuff away.
No, you figure out, what you want,
Yeah,
and you go get that, and
and
then
I'm
you're
done.
done.
Then it gets worse because then I'm like, oh man, I love this so much, and then I want another one. But
Right.
I've got like on the cheaper end of the spectrum because there's a place for that sub $100 knife. And
Sure.
the what
Yeah.
I found for that has been Condor. I think
Hmm.
I mean, it's made by real people, and it's not, it's not a weird. There's not little kids over there making them. It's like
Right.
it's a legit company, and so I mean, there's something for everybody for sure. And
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with
no,
that. Like, I mean, it's like, why do you need to buy a BMW if a Ford Focus will get you to
yeah,
work? Like, well, that kind of a thing. It's like there's benefits to
yep,
it, and it's nice, and
yep.
you know makes life more better and stuff like
Is
that.
there
So
anything in like okay, so I always think of like where I want to. I don't know. I've done this since I was in my 20s. Like, where do I want to be when I'm 50 years old? Like, what? And now I've kind of just given up on like any plans I have for my life. But,
there you go.
but
Attaboy.
I've already
Good
given
job.
up on that. I gave up on that years ago. But you know, there's like this like point in life. I don't know. Is there anything in your life you're like, okay, when I turn 50, I would love to own this or anything like that for Mr. Fire Creek?
Mm. Um, I'm a pretty simple fellow. Simple in the head, simple in taste. um, honestly, like the biggest thing would be like my wife and I. We'd like to have our own
Yeah.
property, which is not really a small ticket item necessarily.
No.
But I'm not big on stuff really. I don't at least I don't feel like I am. And that's one reason why I do like, like you said, cry once, buy once. Like if you're gonna have a couple of things, like have nice,
Right.
good stuff or in that area. But I don't knives are one area that I like to have
Yeah.
good stuff, and I like good food.
Are you a car guy
And
like your brother? No.
no, not no, no, I'm not. And so that's what I'm saying is like I don't have a lot of areas where I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
really, this or that. But we would like to have our own property. I that would be nice. Just like in the past, we've lived on properties and done like some homesteading kind of stuff, which is all the rage now and everything. But um, that's kind of our background and stuff. So having
It's
something
a
like that's really the only thing for
I'm
me.
hoping that gets to be more and more obtainable for people over the next couple of years.
That is an interesting subject. And I think honestly, the biggest thing I think is, how back in the day it was go west, young man. It's literally like the opposite now. Like the
Yeah.
West Coast, specifically in the West, west of the Rockies, except for places in Wyoming and
Mhm.
southwestern Colorado. Like it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to afford, you know.
It
So
is.
a lot
I
of
don't know.
people.
I don't know how people were doing it. I bought my house, and we were so blessed with our place. We bought it at. We bought this in like 2018,
Hmm.
and I told like when 2020 hit, we started getting people offering us like 6 times what we paid for it, and
Yeah,
I told my wife, I said, I'm never moving. I'm never going to move. I
yeah.
don't ever want to move. I'm perfectly content here. I don't. I'm so thankful, like that we were able to buy when we did, and we almost didn't. Like it's just crazy how I don't know. I just believe God orchestrates our lives if we're following Him,
Hmm.
and those opportunities come up at the right time because it was crazy, and I didn't think it was the right time, but it was just crazy looking back, like how you know we were set up, and like it was at our worst. Like it was at
Yeah,
our worst point in our whole like our lives together. And
yeah.
so yeah, I'm sure like that stuff can happen. But like out there where you live, like what is a 2 acres and a 1,500 square foot house? What does that sell for in
Mm.
Texas?
You're probably looking at 250,000.
That's about.
or
It's probably about what it is here.
I haven't looked
Mostly.
lately. But we bought this place in 2020, and it's kind of like the prices like moved eastward and just went
Mhm.
up. And we sold our house in Idaho, little 2-bed 1-bath, just a little dinky place on a dinky lot. And for the same price that we bought a 4-bed 3-bath on a big corner lot with some outbuildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And and there's still places, there's still places that are affordable, but not necessarily where you want to move to.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could get something comparable to what we have now, but we'd like to have some property, so
Yeah.
that limits where you're going to be able to go. So
Yeah. I'm hoping it starts shifting, like things start changing where people can actually afford. Because I mean, my neighbor's house, it's not. I mean, it's a fairly decent sized house, like 2 acres of land. They want like $860,000 for this. I mean, it's a big house. It is a big house,
wow,
but
yeah.
I'm like, and we have sheep and stuff up here in our upper field, and
Hmm.
like the first line in the listing says overlooking grazing sheep and cattle, and I'm like, yeah, but dude, on the other side of my property's a 15 or 2,000 acre dairy farm. Wait till the wind blows this way.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
It's all
It
about
doesn't
which
bother me. It
direction you
doesn't
take
bother
the
me.
pictures from.
It's all those cows right there. Yep, and all 500 of them.
That's funny. Yeah.
It's
So your guys are kind of Western North Carolina.
yeah, we're in the Piedmont, so we're
Okay.
kind of northwest of Charlotte. So
Okay.
right before you hit the mountains, like
So
right
how
before
does
you.
it? Are you familiar with how different it does? It differ at all once you get into Tennessee on the eastern Tennessee there?
No, it's about the same.
Yeah.
I have some buddies up in the mountains that were looking at moving to Tennessee mainly because of business taxes. They don't
Hmm.
have income tax there. Is the income tax they don't have? But that causes property values to go crazy over there.
Yeah.
It's I'm starting to see I'm starting to see a few little places here and there now. Stuff's setting on the market now because people
Oh, is
interest
it?
rates are so high.
Yeah.
And like my mom, like we were trying to find her a place, and like she's just wanting a little small house, like no land, just a single level house. It was exponentially cheaper. We're building her a house because it's just way cheaper, half half of
Okay.
half
Wow.
price. And so
That's kind of surprising too, because the building materials, I guess they've come down a little bit.
they've
Well,
come down a lot here.
okay.
They've come down a
Nice.
lot. So, but yeah, you should come over this way if you ever move again.
I'm not gonna say that it's out of the realm of possibility. I
I
don't
have
know.
I have access to a whole bunch of shop space.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
My goal is to get all the makers to move within like 20 minutes of the store.
Nice.
That's a that's a that's the way to do it. Just have everybody in North Carolina. The
Um. Sorry, I'm texting Yukon here. I haven't seen him on here.
I know. I figured he'd be on. I was hoping he was going to be on here when I was talking about him.
Yeah, me too.
So it was like 9 of you guys weren't they?
Yes.
Oh gosh, that was probably rough. I had 2 younger sisters, and that was terrible.
Excuse me. Yeah, everybody's got their story, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, we grew up, on the poor side a little bit.
yep. No, I did too.
We had do you know who Tim Hawkins is? He's a Christian comedian, but he's
Yeah.
funny.
Yep.
He's got this bit like you grew up poor, you didn't get the name brand stuff. You got like the knockoff brands. So instead of like wheat thins, you got salty brown squares, and what was some other ones? Instead of hamburger helper, it's beef assistant. Stuff like
I
that.
mean, when you have 9 kids, that's we just have one, and it's amazing how much our grocery bill went up with just one. It's incredible, actually. It's like it doubled. But
Yeah, they eat the food.
it's unreal. I'm like, it's amazing what happens when you feed them. They do grow. Then you have to buy clothes.
Then you have to feed them more because they're
Yeah.
bigger, and
I could
yeah,
see
those
how
are
it is not that much more to add additional ones, especially if they're like the same sex, because you could just pass the clothes down to the next one coming up, and
unless
have
they
to keep
wear them
buying clothes.
out.
That's true.
Like my kids are, I don't know what they do, but they just tear stuff up.
It's like we've had our little girl 7 months, and she has grown 5 inches in
Yeah,
7 months. It's crazy. I'm like, like what? How is that possible?
yeah, yeah. Oh, and then you're like trying to figure out how to be a good parent and all this stuff,
Oh,
Like,
and run
jeez.
businesses and
I mean,
so
you do start to you get a little more empathy for your parents. Like, okay, maybe this is why they acted that way.
yeah, oh yeah, I know, I know.
But
Well, Adam and stuff here in the chat, he's got like 7 or 15 or something like that. I don't know.
7 or 50,
Yeah,
yeah, somewhere in the ballpark.
yes, it's crazy. This dude,
You're doing
he's
class. Uh-huh. That's
yeah.
my mom did that. Yep. We don't do that though.
I mean,
We moved out of the 19th century and
you have what, six kids?
5. Yep.
5. Maybe that's your 2025. 6.
No, we're done. Got our hands full.
Yeah.
No, my next goal, well, like I just said, is my next goal is I mean our oldest is 10, so she's over halfway there, but she's still younger, and we'd like, Lord willing, we would like to get on some property, and that was always our dream or goal or whatever, to
Mhm.
raise our kids on some property and that kind of things, you know. Um,
How much property you want?
well, if you ask my wife, she wants like 40 acres to put cows on and stuff. I would be happy with what I guess what I can get, a couple acres, because I mean you can do a lot. You can really do a lot with 2 to 5 acres, honestly, depending on
It's a
depending
lot
on
of
the,
upkeep.
it is, well, yeah, yeah, depending on the land, like where we're at, nothing grows unless you water the heck out of it. But where you're at, grass actually grows
It
naturally.
does, yeah.
Yes, it's like native grass.
It's not native, it's all fescue,
No, I
pretty much
mean like
everything.
it's
Oh, it
like
does grow, yeah. And out here, it's so easy to grow, like, everything. Like, it's really like your vegetables, like your garden, it's easy to grow. Even I
Mhm.
mean, everything would be easier here for sure.
Yeah,
The grass, like, I have a drill that I pull behind my tractor, and so I can drill in different grasses and stuff, and it does actually grow. And so I can drill in like winter grasses and stuff for the winter for cattle, for the cows
nice.
and stuff. But you can do a lot if you had 3 acres
Hmm.
and it was clear, like if you had a clear like field, you could easily keep a couple cows and
Yeah.
like no problem. That would be a problem.
So let me ask you this: like, if you want to go, get out in the sticks just a little bit and
Hmm.
chop some wood or something, like,
Yeah,
where do you go for that? Like, how, like, is that accessible or is it all private, or
I mean I have woods all around me. We have tons of trees here.
is it just like neighbor's property, or?
Yeah, I mean yeah, it is pretty much. There's the our house, we're our house butts up against about 10 acres, 15 acres of just woods. So I got plenty of where I'm actually going to be setting up a hot tent setup back here as like a live stream and
Oh,
content
nice.
creation thing back here behind my house. But there's more woods than there's not woods here. So you actually have to clear land if you want fields.
Right.
I mean, it is. We are in. This is more like, especially the further west you go from here. This is a tempered rainforest, basically.
Mm-hmm.
High humidity. It can be pretty high humidity and stuff here. It's not. It's not dry. Um, but no, as a whole, it's a lot easier to live. I think this is a very easy place to grow if you want to farm. This is a very good place to be. Um, I wouldn't want to live any further south than what I do. It just gets too hot.
Yeah, I say
Um,
like what kind of this is one thing that I've shied away from is like heat plus humidity.
yeah, so we have heat and we have humidity for it's we have one really bad month out of the year. I'd say that I just like, oh god, I hate this. But as a whole, we have very mild winters. It doesn't get crazy. We get if we have snow, it's gone 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
It's not terrible winters. Though if you like to ski and snowboard, I mean, you're 45 minutes from the slopes if you want to go ski and,
Oh, okay.
stuff. So, um,
Cool.
yeah, it's great here. I mean, I enjoy North Carolina a lot. I don't like Tennessee very much. I don't think I would like to live there. It changes drastically once you get over the mountains into Tennessee.
Hmm.
But like if you like to raise a garden, like we grow a big garden every year, and it's easy. It's not difficult. Like
Yeah.
we have good soil, and
Yeah.
it's not difficult. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a lot different between East and West Texas too. Like you go towards East Texas, you get
Yeah,
you
it's very different.
very different climate.
Yeah. Which is the thing I didn't really want. Didn't want to go to East Texas because of the heat plus humidity. It
Yeah,
can be
you should just come out here and like. I mean, the worst is July, into July 1st of August, and then it starts cooling off. It's not terrible, but it does get humid. It does get humid, but I don't know. Pick your
yeah.
poison.
Overton's going off about him.
Yeah, well, he's just a wimp. Those, you know how those Midwestern Nebraskan people are. They're little, you know, like little finicky. Probably
Not happy unless the wind's blowing.
Yeah, he holds his pinky in the air when he drinks his Red Bull.
That's funny. You like to breathe mosquitoes several months of the year.
If I was to ever move personally, I would move to probably Wyoming or Montana.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I love that country out there so much.
Now, Western or Eastern, because it's very different.
I like Western. I like Eastern too. I mean, I've been on both, especially Montana. I've been both sides, and I love Western Montana. Like,
yeah, it's nice.
That it's just crazy. But you're sacrificing a lot. Like it's harder to grow stuff there. I think it's everything's just more brutal. But I love cold. I love cold, and so the colder it is, I love it. So, but I like the climate there. I've been Wyoming. I think is beautiful. It's flat. I mean, it's all flat and everything. But
Eastern Wyoming is. Yeah, you get into like.
I've never been in Western Wyoming. I've never been there before.
They have some pretty rugged country. They got some mountain ranges. Yeah. Pretty neat.
But yeah, I do like the snow and stuff that y'all get that they get up there. So that's I just like that. But it is brutal, and I mean, a lot of my life would definitely change. As far as farming and stuff, it's a lot
stuff
harder.
that you're dealing with. We joked that we've gotten soft down here, because we used to heat with wood,
Yeah, we heat with wood.
Firewood for the winter, and inevitably we're shoveling snow, part of the time or whatever. And down here, it's like I just pay for dead dinosaur juice and heat the house, and
our house was built in the 20s, and so
No
the first thing
insulation.
we did when we moved in was we put a wood stove in. They had already knocked
Yeah,
the chimneys off and re-roofed the house and everything before we bought it. But
right.
yeah, we don't ever run the heat in the house. We just heat with wood. This is
Yeah.
my favorite time of the year. Like it's like next week we're supposed to get some snow. It's supposed to be down in the teens,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about as cold as it gets. And we don't have that very often. But
Yeah.
that's my favorite time to go camping. Like when
Yeah.
it's in the 20s, the teens and 20s, that's like, oh, it's awesome camping.
Yeah.
It's good camping weather.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
does it ever get cold there where you're at?
It does. Not until like January, February,
Yeah.
but we're close enough. We're like on the western edge of the bottom of the Great Plains, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll get weather systems out of the Great Plains, and when it hits it's just right, it does get cold, like you're saying, teens and 20s, but not
Yeah.
much colder than that. But the wind blows, so similar to Dakota or whatever,
Yeah.
but not
That
very long.
that was some of us went out to I guess it was last year. Went out to Wrangler Star's place out in Washington. And
Oregon.
no, he's in Washington.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he must.
Um
Oh, you're at the bottom.
yeah. He's right at the bottom, yeah. But
Gotcha.
that is one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever been. It's just amazing. It's just beautiful, but there you live in a place where it's like it's like why, like all these fires and all that mess. Like, well, no, I, no,
Yeah,
I don't
see,
want
I
to go
missed
that.
that. Like the fall, you start getting that tang in the air from the wood smoke. There's a
Yeah,
fire somewhere there,
yeah, but
and you're like,
you can't have bonfires. You
your
can't
breath in the morning.
like
Well,
you can't
yeah.
do any of that stuff. Like the stuff I love, I look forward to in the fall. You can't do any of that there.
Once it rains a couple times, you're good.
It doesn't. It's like it never
It
with these
does.
people, and then you got all these
Not
volcanoes
not in
around you just
summer.
waiting to blow you up. You know, it's like, good lord, what people. I mean, it's beautiful. It's fun to go visit, but my word, I don't know that I want to live there. It's like a bunch of dang pimples sticking out of the earth, just waiting to pop. He's like sitting in the middle of 5 of them,
Uh-huh.
and
Mount
like
Fuji.
you Mount Fuji there. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Um.
but no, I've never spent hardly any. I've been to Dallas in Texas. That's all. That's the only place I've been in Texas.
Dallas is nice this time of year, but
I hate the
it's
cities though, man.
humid. Yeah, I mean, if you like
Yeah,
going, which I don't, but I'm saying weather-wise,
yeah.
um, it but yeah, July, August,
Oh, I've been down there in July and August,
it's
and it's
terrible.
man, I'm like people survive. It's amazing.
That's
It's
because
like
they don't come outside. Stay in the AC.
yeah,
You don't get your vitamin D. It's just all bad.
yeah. So Overton does have a point here. Washington is okay, but I hate to switch to skinny jeans.
Yeah,
It's a true
skinny,
thing.
skinny
It's a
jeans
real
and soy
thing.
lattes.
It's right.
Yeah,
We've got those people around here though. We've got the skinny jean flannel guys. Um, they don't know
they
anything.
all came from Vermont, huh?
Now we have halfbacks. Yeah, so we call them halfbacks. So there's a whole group of people here that used to live in New York and like Connecticut and up there, and they all went to Florida and decided what a cesspool that was. So they didn't make it but halfway
Came out
back,
and
and they
made it.
stopped here.
Nice.
So we
Yeah,
call them halfbacks.
there you go.
They're man, I tell you what, that talk about a terrible place. Who in their right mind? I'm glad people want to live down there,
What,
but
Florida?
God, it's a terrible place. It's
Is it?
awful. It's
Never
awful.
been there.
There, I don't know why you would ever live there. The fishing's good. Other than that, that place is not. It is not cool. It's not cool at all. And people love it. Like you think I think it's humid here, and I go down there and I'm like I can't breathe. It's like breathing. Like I'm gonna get pneumonia
Mm-hmm.
breathing all this water in.
Breathing soup. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like nope. They love it. They're out there just doing their thing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy.
So
Hey, there's low budget Bob.
it's almost we're 30 minutes from the new year here on the right coast.
Right on.
It's gonna be a new year. We have went 2.5 hours.
Nice.
So this is fun.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. I appreciate
I
it.
like knives, but I like talking about other stuff.
Yeah, I do too. Enjoy.
It's a lot of fun. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Y'all go. Can y'all light fireworks off for New Year's?
Yeah, I don't know if we have any this year, but yeah, it's pretty relaxed around here. That's kind of nice. So there's not really much to light on fire anyway. So
And people around here were setting off at Christmas at like midnight. I'm like,
oh yeah,
come on, man. Like the kids
yeah,
asleep, the dogs are
exactly.
barking. No, you don't, Overton. No, you don't. You start a live stream up and do that one.
Somebody knows what's going on there. That's all I'm gonna
All
say.
those airplanes flying around.
Yeah, somebody knows exactly why they're there and what they're doing. They just forgot to tell us.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I'm just glad they're. I mean, whatever's going on, they deserve it. Up there, they deserve it. Whatever they're doing, they deserve it.
Yeah,
You ever been to New Jersey?
Jazzy. No, no, I don't. No, I don't think so.
You ever been to New York? Anything up there?
Flew in there. Yeah.
So when you get in like Western New York, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's beautiful. This is one of the coolest places. But that city can freaking fall into the ocean. That place is a cesspool, man. It is. Golly dang.
It's probably
It's
gotten
awful.
way. I've heard it's gotten way worse too in the last 4 years.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna make it better than ever.
So much better. New Jersey, New York, the same. Yeah, yeah. I don't understand. I really don't understand the appeal to that. That place is just. I mean, I've been there several times to New York and the city, and it's cool for like the first 5 hours. Like you go get your pizza, you go get your hoagie, you do this, and then you try
Yeah.
not to get robbed the rest of the time.
I never got to see all this stuff because so when I went on Forge and Fire, my wife came with me and her mom came with her.
Mhm.
Whatever. I don't know. I was busy working and they were touring the city and everything like that. I guess I had a good time. So
Wait, I forgot. We didn't even talk about that. The Forged and Fire.
yeah,
You were on Forged and Fire.
yeah.
I've seen like 3 episodes of that, by the way. But so you had to go to New York to be on it?
At that time, the studio was in it was right across the river in Connecticut. What's the town? And then I can't remember the name of the city.
Was that a good experience for you?
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was stressful, but it was a neat experience. Yeah.
How did you do in it? Like, what was the thing with? I don't know enough about the show. Obviously,
Yeah, so it's changed a lot. Somewhat, I'm sure. But when I was on it, they had the challenge that we had was let's see, you'd have like you build 2 different things. And so the first thing they had us build was a Faber and Sykes combat dagger. In the first, I think it was 3 hours, you had to forge and heat treat and grind the blade, if I remember correctly. And then there was a time limit. Somebody got eliminated. And then there was only 3 of us for the next round, and you had 2 hours to put a handle on it and everything. And then after that round, there was only 2 guys left. And then you go home to your own shop and build the finale weapon, which was basically a samurai sword. It was called a gunto, which is a military katana, basically. And we had 30 hours to build that in our own shops. And then you go back and they do the final judging and see who wins and stuff. So
how did it go for you on there?
I won.
You won it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was kind of neck and neck. It was the other guy is good. The other, I guess, the runner-up. He's from Mississippi. He's a good old boy. He was a believer too. It was
Mm.
cool. So he's good. He was a good guy. What's his name now? I can't remember. But anyway, he was a cool guy. But
That's cool.
his katana, the wrapping started coming off of his. That was like the biggest failure of his. And so it wasn't like, sometimes the other guy's thing will just snap in half,
Mm-hmm.
and then, it wasn't like that. So it's kind of cool that it was stiff competition, I guess.
Yeah. Did you get to pick the steel and stuff you used for that stuff too?
Richie Crew, that's right. Run Gun knows. Good old Richie Crew. If you're going to be a bear, you might as well be a grizzly. So they actually gave us a piece of 5160 for that project, but we didn't have to use it. They just gave it because not everybody has the same stuff,
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure everybody had something was, suitable for a sword. I actually used. You'll be happy about this. I actually used ADCRV2 because I had been doing a bunch of testing on ADCRV2 back when I was trying to figure out what steel I wanted to use for my main steel, and I discovered. I mean, not the first one, obviously, but I was just impressed with how tough it was. Like, I did some water quenches on it.
Oh, wow.
Left it super hard and things like that. And it's just super tough. And that's why I use it for choppers now and stuff. But anyway, so I built my my Gunto out of ADCRV2.
Awesome.
And with like swords, you're kind of running the line between enough weight but not too much weight. And so getting that balance to where you've got that mass to cut stuff, but not too much weight to where it's, you're like trying to hold up a sledgehammer,
Yeah.
So it was a fun build. But yeah, it's like
that's awesome.
Chopped up a pig and some bamboo, and
you still have those knives. You mean
so that you don't get to keep them?
You don't. Okay.
They started the runner-ups get their final weapons back, but if you win, you don't get them back. I guess they put it on the wall in the
I see.
studio. So
the only sword maker I've ever been around was Jason Knight's son, Tristan. He got a he was never into knife making at all, and then one of Jason's guys that works there with him kind of inspired him to start making stuff. It was kind of funny. I shot a podcast with him earlier in the year, but he got into making fantasy Japanese swords, but kind of they're correct, but it's just bizarre all the stuff he does to them. Very ornate type stuff.
Nice.
And he uses ADCRV2 for that stuff. But that's the only thing I found it so I could just sit for hours and watch him hammer out these swords. It's just amazing to me. That whole process is just bizarre. That's the only guy I've ever been around that makes swords. And
yeah, speaking of the traditional Japanese stuff with the tomahawk and stuff that they make and all the techniques behind that, it's
wild.
It's a lot of stuff, nuanced detail and everything like that.
Well, everybody's saying I'm falling asleep. I'm not going to fall asleep. Oh, but we have
probably go see what the family's doing, and
bring in the new year.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
Appreciate it.
We'll do this again. Man, I appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
All right, send me